Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. I had my Father's Day today, remodeling the kitchen with my wife, and I am hurting like heck. I am out of shape. Wow, I am so sore. But I was like, I have such an amazing guest, I think, to coming on tonight that I have to pull it through. And this is what I really want to do for Father's Day, is spend it with you guys and my family. It was good, except my poor kids didn't get to spend much time with their dad on Father's Day because I was working in the kitchen with my wife trying to put flooring down. Yeah, a lot of fun. But I do enjoy getting to spend time with my family and with you guys here on Sunday nights, doing this show every night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern. You know, tell your friends. You want a Father's Day gift from me, you do that. Our guest tonight, psychic medium John Russell, will join us after the World Wide Web of Weird. We do have a lot of weird to get to, as always. Just articles tonight. I didn't have any video evidence or anything like that, or anything cool like that, but actually some really cool stories, so I want to get to that. But John Russell will join us. He's the author of Riding with Ghosts, Angels, and the Spirits of the Dead. He's a motorcyclist, and he's a psychic. He's going to see a lot of stuff on the road, right? A lot of stuff. He's got another book, Knock in the Attic. I've heard a lot of good things about this guest, so I'm really excited. And he will, later in the show, take your calls and maybe give you a little reading. And I mean a little reading, like, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And you can always hook up with him later. His website's johnrussell.net and book your own reading. But to just get a little preview tonight, you can call in later and get a mini reading from John Russell. That's going to be awesome. All right, guys, we got a lot to get to, so let's go ahead and get rolling into the show. Welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup. As I said before, I'm your host, Jason Bland. Tonight's guest, John Russell, will be joining us by phone. Not on the video call. We're on a good streak of guests on video call, but not all guests want to do that, and I totally understand. He'll be with us by phone. So that means tonight, for calling in for the show, we only have the two lines to call in. 219-230-4444 line should be open later tonight, and then Skype ID OOJBland00. Those are really the only two ways. The other two ways you see on the screen, I can't get rid of those. You're not going to call in on those, and you're going to want to wait to call in later. Joining me right now, called already in, is my beautiful co-host Jamie D. How you doing tonight, Jamie?
Doing well, thank you.
I'm excited about this guest. I know you don't know too much about him, but I've heard him on some other shows back in the past, and this guy, I think Jamie is going to be really cool. And, of course, from St. Augustine, Florida. Our guest is living in Florida right now. Maybe you guys are neighbors. I don't know. All I know is our guest is in Florida. From St. Augustine, Florida, Rob Autry himself. How do you tonight, Rob?
Crazy Florida.
Yeah, you had to cancel last Weird Wednesday show because of weather. And today, Father's Day, I've been mulling around in my kitchen, and I kept on seeing the weather report. Oh, it's supposed to rain. It's supposed to rain. And no, it never did, except for once. It was like 2-minute rain. And I thought, I'm good tonight, even though it shows all these thunderstorms and stuff happening right during the time of the show. And then what me and Jamie were doing sound check in. She heard it, didn't you? Yeah. So if anything happens or I go off air, then you probably know what happened. Storm. I don't like doing a show with a storm. You know, I have a lot of electronic equipment down here, all in surge protectors, but that still doesn't matter. But yeah. So let's say if a Father's Day miracle, we don't lose internet or power at any time. I had a great Father's Day too. I got to talk to my dad. We got to talk about UFOs. He's becoming more of a believer with this disclosure, I think. Even though I'm suspect of some of the stuff that we're seeing in the disclosure. But there's a lot of that I talk about in the World Wide Web of Weird. And speaking of that, we got a lot to get to. So let's go ahead and roll into the World Wide Web of Weird. Tonight on the World Wide Web of Weird, I thought I'd start off this one from The Drive. Hawaii-based, I got a frog in my throat, jeez. Hawaii-based F-22 scrambled on FAA's request, but nobody will say why. I thought this was an interesting story. So far, no reports yet that this was UFO-related, but makes you wonder. For those listening on our Paranormal Soup radio app, on Paranormal radio app for Talkstream, we are a webcast. We do show videos and pictures. Tonight's just really pictures and articles, so I'll narrate as best as possible. Listen along. All right, let me go ahead and pull up that share screen. It's really just the article. There we go. Hawaii-based F-22 scrambled on FAA's request, but nobody will say why. A pair of F-22 Raptors were launched on the alert scramble out of Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickman on Saturday at around 4 p.m. local time. A third F-22 joined the mission about an hour after the pair's departure. A KC-135 was also launched to support the fighters. Hawaii News now reports that the scramble, described as an irregular patrol, was initiated at the request of the FAA, which reported an incident, although nobody is providing any clear information in regards to what that catalyst for the prolonged scramble mission was. The 199th Flight Squadron of Hawaii Air National Guard Unit, that's part of the 154th Wing, based at Hickman Air Force Base, provides alert capabilities for state with at least 2 jets equipped with full armament and wing tanks are always on standby to scramble, along with at least 1 spare. Scrambling on the request of the FAA is not uncommon. It happens for things like potential security situations abroad, airliners, or to provide eyes on stricken aircraft, or even investigate unidentified flying aircraft. So, are we going to find out later, like a year later, that's what it was? I don't know. Or never. But it makes you wonder in the day and age we live in, if that was UFO related.
Could be.
All right.
If it was, I'm sure they're not going to scramble to tell anybody.
No. But, it's interesting that they don't want to say. All right. This is from Sequoia Valley Guardian. Is that Ross County or Ross, Colorado? Woman says ghost burglarized her home. A Ross County woman called for help for deputies after she said ghost burglarized her home. According to reports, deputies were called to Eastern Avenue in Chillicothe on Monday. The woman who lived in there told deputies that she was awakened by a man standing in her living room. She told law enforcement that the man ran through her house, grabbing money from her purse before jumping from a second-story porch. Doesn't sound much ghost-like yet, right? Despite deputies on scene looked around and said, if true, the man would have jumped approximately 15 feet onto a metal objects on the ground, Law enforcement also said if someone had indeed jumped from the porch, that they would have suffered significant injuries. According to the reports, deputies found no sign forced of entry or evidence of a burglary. The woman went on to tell them that she did not feel safe in her home and that the property was haunted by ghosts. So what do you think? Was it a burglary or was it actually a ghost? She said he took money. Now, do you know ghosts take money? I mean, maybe.
They apport money sometimes.
Yeah. The whole jumping out the window and like there's this metal. I would love to know what it was, 15 feet. There's some crazy people that might be able to do it, Look at those guys that do what is that called? Where they all jump around all over stuff all crazily.
Jump up.
What's that?
Jump.
What's that called? My kids know it.
They go running.
Parkour or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like the butter. No, parkour. No. I don't know. I mean, maybe. I don't know. But she obviously had feelings that this place was haunted before this event. But she called the police. So originally she thought it was a person, right? And they took the money. And when they couldn't explain how, she's like, oh, it must be the ghosts.
I'd say psych eval.
Or, what do we got? Oh, see, I have a new board. I would usually be like, bam, right on
Drugs are bad.
New soundboard. And I'm like, where's the drugs are bad button? Okay, let's move on. All right.
I got ghosts.
Next one.
If they start stealing my money, I'm going to have problems.
This next one is a murder suspect now blaming ghosts. Or not actually ghosts, I'd say centuries-old gin for a double slaying. I got this from Coast to Coast. A murder suspect in England has put forward something of a strange supernatural defense for a double slaying that the accused is committing, as men contends that centuries-old gin is really responsible for the crime. According to local media report, Shabazz Khan is currently on trial for the murders of Dr. Saman Mir Sarvachi and her daughter, which are pictured here. Van Manigo, who were killed, or what does this say? And her daughter, Van Manigo. They were killed October 2020 in the community of Brundley. A contractor by trade who had done previous work at the family's home, he had been seen entering the residence on the day prior to the crime, and suspect search of his house was discovered to be in possession of jewelry and money that belonged to Dr. Savachari. I'm totally butchering it. I'm so sorry. Prosecutors in England understandably believe that they have an airtight case against Khan, which likely explains why he contends that his jinn was actually to blame for the double murder. Upon their arrest, Khan was placed in jail cell where he then threw himself across the room onto his bed in an incident that he claimed was an attack by the visible evil entity. In an interview with police the next day, the accused killer began undulating and informed them that they were speaking to a 620-year-old supernatural spirit named Robert Smith Wood, who happened to live in Dr. Savachi's home. Then he went on to claim that he had grown upset with the alterations made to the residence and in turn smashed a mirror as well as moved a table to indicate the displeasure with the changes. At some point following the interview, Khan apparently reclaimed control of his body as he later insisted that he had no idea how the mother and daughter were killed. Asserting that they were perfectly fine when he left the residence. He argued that the jinn infesting their home must have committed the crime. As one might imagine, prosecutors are not buying Khan's story, arguing to the jury at this currently unfolding trial that the man's actions while in custody were simply his way of trying to step up and sell by supernatural, or step up his defense to say that he had been attacked in his cell by supernatural spirits. I'm sorry, the guy's full of it.
Is there a supernatural defense?
No, there isn't. The guy's using it as a defense. You know who else did this? The Son of Sam. Mm-hmm. Like the whole, I'm talking to a 3,000-year-old dog was a bunch of crap. He did it to try to get an insanity plea.
He's been drinking gin, maybe.
Yeah. He drank the worm in the tequila, like in Poltergeist. I don't know, but it isn't a gin.
Oh, just watch that.
What are you going to say?
Just watched that Poltergeist 2 again last night.
Carolyn. All right, let's move on.
One was much better.
I know some people are like, well, you got to have an open mind. Maybe it's true. Maybe it was a gin that killed the people. But yeah, no, I really don't buy it. All right, so we were talking about the UFO disclosure coming and all that, and like we got secret government. The government has secret UFO technology. I don't know, but I found this interesting. While we're We're seeing all these fast UAPs and weird stuff that they're doing. We're putting wooden satellites up in space. First ever wooden satellite to set launch later this year. An odd bit of space history may be made later this year as the world's first wooden satellite is set to be launched into orbit by the end of 21. Measuring a mere 4 by 4 by 4 inches, the device is reportedly the result of a collaborative effort among 3 different Finnish companies. Arctic Astronautics, a business that produces educational CubeSat kits for students, conceived of the idea and subsequently enlisted UPM Plywood and Technology Design House Hold to create the whole unique satellite, which will sport surface panels made of specially treated plywood. Well, you know what I found interesting about this, and there's a whole article. This is coast to coast. Is the the Roswell crash, when they described the lot of the descriptions, witness testimonies that actually saw the craft, said there was like this wood-like substance. It was like balsa wood or something like that in the craft. Maybe wood's the next thing. Maybe they got that from aliens. No, I don't know. But a wooden satellite?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
It's equipped with a selfie stick. Of course, it has to have a selfie stick. To monitor the exterior condition of the satellite. The device will also contain sensors provided by the European Space Agency. Powered device, which weighs around 2 pounds, will be provided by 9 solar panels set to launch later this year by the way of rocket departing from New Zealand. The product is planned to last for at least 2 years and is being touted as a possible green alternative to spaceflight. To that end, UPM Plywood marveled that the satellite carries a profound message of replacing fossils with renewable wood-based materials. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be going up to space in wood ships. You can launch all the wood satellites you want. I'm going to make a bet now that's not going to be the way of the future.
On the way to the launch pad, grab some 10-penny nails.
How do you think that wooden spaceship's holding up with the radiation?
Yeah.
All right. Just thinking of a lot of ways that can go wrong.
Thought I was getting a lightning strike, and it was your mic. You scared the crap out of me. I'm like waiting any moment for another strike. Scares the living heck out of me. Okay. Where were we? All right. Moving on. I'm totally lost in my articles now. Witness in England. Let's go down on the UFO stuff. So we're going to be talking a lot about that. Witnesses in England spot dome of light prior to appearance of crop circle. In a strange story out of England, a man claims to have spotted a massive dome of light lingering in a field prior to the appearance of a crop circle in the following day. According to a local media report, the intriguing incident reportedly occurred early Wednesday morning in the village of Chalfont, St. Peter, when a bright light emanating from outside of his home woke up the witness, Martin Holt. Initially thinking that perhaps it was the moon or some kind of security light, he peered out his window and was astounded by what he saw. It was a great dome of light. That's the only way I could describe it. It was perfectly white, like an opaque bulb. The dome was about 150 feet wide and around 30 feet tall, absolutely enormous. Eerily, the anomaly was completely silent, and the man eventually wound up falling back to sleep. The following morning, Holt inquired with his neighbor about the strange event from the night before, but they had not seen anything. The duo decided to investigate the field where the dome had seamlessly been sitting, and to their surprise, they discovered that there was now a sizable crop circle in the location. Remarkably, Holt estimated that at one point the formation was the same width, 150 feet. That's a pretty big crop circle, as the light that he had seen hours earlier. It was very strange, he mused about the experience. I lost my article. He did not snap any photos of the curious dome of light, of course. Well, some of these people wake up and they see these things out their window, and then they go right back to sleep. Why? You would not think you'd go back to sleep, but people do. Abductees do. Maybe he's an abductee. It's weird when people say they see that. I believe them. When they say they look out the window, they see something, and they just go back to sleep. There's so many counts of this with people.
Kind of reminds
me. So
many
counts.
Being in my grandmother's backyard about 47 years ago.
Yeah.
With a huge bolt of bright light.
And you went back to sleep?
Well, I woke up on the ground.
So I don't know if you went back to sleep. It sounded like you went up and did some butt stuff with some aliens, and then you woke up on the ground.
Could have been.
Speaking of that, and aliens taking people to do butt stuff, one guy's had enough. Really had enough. Alien abduction signs show up in England. There are still a surprising number of people who believe that they have, at some stage in their lives, encountered beings from another world. The traditional abduction experience usually involves a person being taken from their home, subjected to medical experiments, and then returned with their memories of the encounter distorted or erased. Now, according to a strange sign, has recently appeared in Sedgley, England, it seems that for someone that at least alien abduction still appears to be a pressing concern. It would be if it was happening to you. It would be a pressing concern if you had been being taken against your will. 3 alien abductions here in 1 week, the sign reads, back stenciled writing. Oddly, it even goes so far as to blame the local authorities by adding, when are the council going to do something? I don't think your town council can do much about alien abduction, though. As things stand, nobody seems to know who put the sign there, who the 3 alleged abductees are, or what the sign's creator believes the council could do about it anyways. There's something definitely going on with UFO activity in the West Midlands, but no one would ever go on the record to confirm that, said a local counselor. But as far as alien abductions in Sedgley, not so sure about that. Well, somebody felt strong enough that what's happening to them, they wouldn't put a sign up. I love how, even Unexplained Mysteries is writing this article is kind of snarky about it. This person who put the sign up, yeah, maybe they're a little off. I don't know, but maybe they've had it. They don't know what to do, and they put this sign up because you can't talk to anybody, you can't say anything. So this is the best way you can get your message out there. Like, it's happening to people. They probably ran into 2 other people, or happened to, or it's just them. They've been abducted 3 times, and they're like, "Where's the police, man?
Where's the city council?
That would be interesting.
They're not stopping this." My butt hurts.
They need to tax the aliens. Put a tax on the aliens. Tax them so much per abduction.
You guys are going to need a permit to abduct people.
I don't know. I don't think there's much your town council can do. I feel bad for the person who put the sign up, because honestly, somebody hasn't put a sign up like that as a total joke. I don't think that's a joke. I really do think that's a call for help. If somebody's having something going on, and they're sick of it. And that's what kind of breaks my heart about seeing the sign. And a lot of times people are like, "Oh, he's totally crazy." You can tell he's crazy. Some of these people are off, but you would be off if you're being taken at night, and tortured by stuff. Your personality is going to be affected by that, and you have PTSD. Not all. A lot of alien abductees don't know what's going on, and they're perfectly normal lives. But for some people, they're totally realizing what's happening to them. They're not. They're terrified every day. It's just the truth of the matter. All right, let's go to this last one.
If I was like Terry Lovelace and seeing monkeys in my bedroom at night, I'd be scared to go to sleep.
Oh yeah, or you waking up and being so bruised, that they think your spouse is beating you up. To be that hurt from an incident, that you never know. And the loss of memory, time loss too. That just to not be able to count where you've been or what you've done. To wake up somewhere totally different, not just like having it happen in your home. Some, Terry and others have had this experience where they're out on the road doing something, and then they end up somewhere else.
Say you just climbed 6 flights of stairs from your bed.
You got to think a lot of alien abductees become agoraphobic with those kind of experiences.
Yeah.
But they get you in their homes. They're like, nowhere you can go. All right. So this is what I get so mad, going all the way back to like Whitley Strieber getting such a bad interview from, what was that? The famous talk show host is dead. Just recently died. Larry something.
Larry.
Whatever.
Yeah.
See, I don't even remember him. I remember Whitley Strieber. I don't remember him. But them just laughing at him during the interview,
Larry King.
All right. Larry King. There you go. All right. So this last one, we got the UFO report coming out on the 25th. And I know I keep trying to tell you people, don't get your hopes up. Don't get your hopes up, because I don't trust nobody, especially don't trust the government. I did get some real bad comments because I did give compliments to Lou Elizondo during an interview and, said I do think he's a patriot. And people went off on me, like he's a traitor, it's a disinformation, blah, blah, blah. I think he's just doing what he thinks is right. I don't think he's disinformation or anything. I do think there's issues with the evidence that they presented. Some of it's amazing. But some of it's been explained pretty well as not being UFO. I think there's been some good arguments to that, some red flags. I don't know. I don't trust no one, as the X-Files has taught me. Well, this one, during a recent conversation regarding UFO phenomenon, the government's secrecy, a United States congressman from Tennessee provocatively mused that if they exist, the mysterious objects are likely extraterrestrials in nature. Interviewed by website TMZ on Tuesday, Representative Tim Burchett responded to indications that the forthcoming Pentagon UAP report will suggest that UFOs spotted by the Navy pilots could have been originated from Russia. I think that's ridiculous, he declared, postulating that if the Russians had UFO technology, they would own us right now. Having dismissed that possibility, the congressman went on to argue that the phenomenon has to be something that's from out of this galaxy. Just has to be. If facts are real. You're getting more congressmen saying something. Even ones I hate them all. It was one I really Adam Schiff was like, it's interesting in his dull man like voice and look. Like, well, it's interesting to you, Adam Schiff. I don't think very much, but he even got you to talk, and he didn't want to talk about it. That was what was interesting, because he's a little slime. This guy is all these congressmen are like, it's real or it's not. Some are skeptical. They're all getting the same information. They're all getting these briefings. But I have to warn people. Some of these, everything when a politician does it, you got to be wary of it. Like them, like Senator Harry Reid. He backed this when he was in the Senate, and a lot of this came from Robert Bigelow, because he's friends with him and wanted and pushed Harry Reid to do this, and Harry Reid's interested. Now you get politicians interested, and guess what they're thinking when you're talking about what a threat these things could be in the sky, and if there's another country, we're really screwed. Guess what happens? Defense budgets go up. Senators get their bill to get the newest, best aircraft, millions and trillions of dollars. So yeah, I'm not very trustworthy of the government disclosure. I think they're hurting hard for funding, even though they're not. They're getting trillions of dollars. You know how much money they gave to the UAP research? At a $1 trillion budget, pretty much almost $22 million. That's like a drop in the bucket, man. Yeah, it definitely shows they were looking at any UFOs when they, after Project Blue Book, said they weren't. Well, I'm sorry. They never lost interest in UFOs. Of course not. And what they do know, the deep, really good stuff, like the alien bodies, the technology. Yeah, that no senator, congressman, or president anymore, probably not since Nixon, or George H.W. Bush, that have knowledge or access to that. I'm just saying, they don't. It's not for them to need to know. I think information's power to some of these presidents have been in office, and the CIA, NSA, and the people that have the really deep, dark, and it's even out of their reach, because it's all deep state private organizations. It's buried. You're never going to hear about it. You're never going to see it. So this is going to be like Project Blue Book 2. That's what it really is going to be. Sorry, I keep saying it. I'm just trying to not get people's hopes up about this. I think what I love about it, it got me talking with my dad today on Father's Day about UFOs. That I love about it. It's getting people to talk about it. I don't want to talk too much. You might see something coming up for me, and when I have time, I will announce. When the right time is right, I'll announce it soon, hopefully. But it's got some people interested to talk to me about UFOs. So I'm like, me? Really? Me? Yes. So we'll see. That's coming up. But we got a great guest tonight. Psychic medium John Russell is going to join us. We're going to talk about his experiences with ghosts, angels, spirits, riding his motorcycle down the road, meeting all kinds of weirdness. I think he's had some UFO experiences too. It's going to be an interesting night, and he will do a little bit of readings, not right away. We'll do it after this next commercial break. After this commercial break, one more commercial break after that. Then I'll open the phone lines. You guys call in and get like a couple-minute reading from psychic medium John Russell. All right, guys, we'll be right back after a short commercial break.
Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do voices from beyond the cold case files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Of the second kind, physical evidence of a UFO. Close encounters of the third kind, contact. From Steven Spielberg, the director of Jaws, comes one of the most ambitious and unusual films ever made. And what you will see has never been seen before. It's a cosmic mystery crossing what many scientists believe will be the next threshold of human experience. It is called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It begins in an Indiana town and leads to one inescapable conclusion. We are not alone. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Certificate A. Now showing at the Odeon, Leicester Square.
The international chart-topping, haunted horror of Haverfordwest has been described as terrifyingly real, a must-read, shocking and chilling brilliance, genuinely worrying, utterly frightening. Don't read before bed. Described as one of the spookiest writers out there, best-selling author G.L. Davies presents Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest, the true paranormal account that is shocking the world. Dare you enter? Dare you read? Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, and wherever books are sold. Pray you never have to live there.
This is the sound of a space clock aboard a U.S. satellite 180 miles above the Earth. No one winds up this timepiece. It's powered by a tiny battery, a battery that delivers power for years without replacement. Now the same type of battery, the Duracell battery, can bring new reliability and long life to your battery-operated equipment. Radios, cameras, toys, all run far longer. Duracell batteries, the long-distance power cells, outlast any ordinary battery. The same type of battery that keeps space clocks running for years can bring long life to anything powered by batteries. Dura, as in durable. Cell, as in power cell. The Duracell battery, made by Mallory.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Switch to DCS ranging.
240, nominal to profile.
We're in the pipe. 555.
Tonight on Paranormal Soup, our guest is John Russell. John Russell has been a professional psychic for 50 years. He is a psychic reader, a medium, a certified tarot, master paranormal investigator, and now a published author. Internationally known, he has provided psychic readings for clients in over 40 countries. For over 15 years, he's also been a featured guest on many popular radio shows and podcasts, including Coast to Coast AM with George Noory, The Leak Project with Rex Bear, several UK shows, including Paranormal UK Radio Show with Mark Johnson and Irene Allen, and Fate Magazine Radio with Kat Hobson, among many others. John has also filmed a TV pilot for the History Channel, in which he physically explored the assassination of President Abraham Lincoln. Oh, I'd love to hear about that. Which it didn't air, I think, as I saw. But man, it's really disappointing because I would love to hear about. We get to hear about it on the show about reading what happened to Lincoln psychically. I'd love to do. I've been there. I was fascinated as a child with Ford Theater. So we got that. He's also the author of Writing with Ghosts, Angels and the Spirits of the Dead, and also Knock in the Attic. I would love to read these. I haven't yet, and I highly recommend we all check them out after the show tonight. So we're going to get into those subjects. We will open up the phone lines for you guys to call in after the next commercial break. Like John will do a little reading for you, but not a long one. So just remember that. Or if you got questions for our guests or want to share your own paranormal experience tonight, you're all welcome. But we got a lot to get to, so let's go ahead and get to our guests. Are you there with us, John?
I'm here. How you doing, Jason?
Doing great. Thank you for joining us. It's a true honor to have you on the show.
Oh, bless your heart. I appreciate that. It's an honor for me to be here. I'm looking forward to it.
So tell us, I haven't read either of the books, but I'm really interested to. I don't know where you want to start, but I'd always, I guess, start with people when the first time they're on the show is like, how did it begin for you? Where did the paranormal journey begin? For some people's childhood, some people it's later in life. So where did it begin for you?
Yeah, for me it was childhood. I was about 5 years old, and I was lying in bed sound asleep, and my parents had a night light in the hallway, so when I woke up, if I had to get up, I had light I could see. And I was sound asleep, and all of a sudden I popped wide awake. I mean, no grogginess, no, I was just wide awake. And I thought, well, this is really strange. Was there some kind of sound? Was there some kind of noise I heard or something? I laid there a little bit and listened and didn't hear anything. So I raised up on my elbows in bed to kind of look around, and I looked down the hallway, and in the night light's glow around the corner of the door frame, one of the doors coming into the hall, there was this elderly black gentleman staring around the door frame at me. And I screamed bloody murder because my family was white. We didn't have anyone black living with us.
Right.
And this was someone I didn't know, so I presumed an intruder had entered the home. And when I screamed, the old black gentleman walked through the doorway around into the hall and toward the bedroom then, locking eyes with me, keeping
so
his eyes
he was
on
looking
mine.
at you, though. He's like keeping eye contact.
He was looking at me. And he was as physically solid as you or I. He wasn't transparent.
Right.
He wasn't translucent. I can describe his appearance. The clothes he had on, he had close-cropped white hair, had a white mustache. He had on a red flannel shirt, khaki pants, black shoes, black belt, and every bit as solid as you or I. And I screamed bloody murder again. I could hear my parents start to come running. And when that happened, he began then to get translucent, become transparent, then finally disappear. And when that happened, I knew I had seen my first ghost. And he came for one reason and one reason only. And there was nothing malevolent about him or nothing threatening about him. It just scared me because I was 5 years old and presumed somebody had broken into the house. But he came to open up the portal to the other side for me. And so that I would begin to experience these physical paranormal manifestations. And to date, I have had well over 1,000 of them. And when I say physical paranormal manifestations, I don't mean these are things I dreamed, meditated, received in whatever state or whatever. These are things that literally, physically happened on the physical realm. We've photographed them, we've audio recorded them, we've videotaped them, and other people have seen them. It's happened in the presence of other witnesses.
And this is because of your presence there. Like you feel it.
Correct,
We talk about this on the show all the time, and I'm a paranormal investigator, and I've worked with my friend Katrina Cooper's a medium. I always swear by her being there, we're getting more activity. It's like a little
because
battery to it.
Certain people are like magnets. Like I'm a magnet for the paranormal. Wherever I go, the activity intensifies, and so on and so forth. So that was one of the purposes of the old black ghost coming. And then the second purpose was almost simultaneously my psychic gift activated. And I have a funny story to tell you about that. It's really interesting. I was like between 5 and 6, and I was out in the backyard playing. And this car pulled into the driveway, and there were people I didn't recognize, and a car I didn't recognize. So I ran in the house, and I got my mom and dad, and I said, somebody pulled in the driveway. I don't know who it is. They said, okay. So they came out to look, and they were like, oh, these are friends of ours. So the people got out of the car. They came over to my mom and dad, and they were standing outside talking before they went in. And I was kind of goofing around there, eavesdropping, and all of a sudden I looked up at the man and the woman, and I interrupted their conversation, and I said, you just went on vacation. And I said, you drove that car over there, and you went on vacation, and I said, you took 2 kids with you. They're not with you today, but you had 2 kids, and you took them with you in that car. And you stayed at this hotel that was so many stories, and it was painted this color. It looked like this, and there were these trees that looked like this in the front, and then the pool area in the back looked like, and I described that. Well, the woman's husband was kind of like, had this kind of silly grin, kind of looking back and forth with my mom and dad like, what's going on? Yeah. And I'll never forget the woman's expression. It was priceless. Her jaw literally dropped open. Her eyes bugged out. The more I talked, the more they bugged out. And she looked over at my parents and she goes, how the hell could he possibly know that?
Right.
And they were like, what do you mean? And she goes, how the hell could he possibly know that? And they're like, well, what are you talking about? And she said, that's what we come to tell you, that we just went on vacation. We drove our car there. We had our 2 kids with us. We stayed at this hotel that was exactly like John described. How is it possible that he could have known that? And my parents were like, go play, John. Be quiet. I was like, okay, nice to meet you folks.
Kids say the darndest things.
Do what?
It's like kids say the darndest things,
Yeah, right. Go play. And to my knowledge, the people never came to visit my parents again. I guess right. I scared them off.
Because people, nowadays more people are a little more open. But I'm sure in your childhood it freaked people out. It
absolutely freaked people out. And you didn't talk about things like that back then. You didn't talk about UFOs or ghosts or whatever unless you wanted to be viewed as a nutcase.
Right. Exactly.
You could lose your job. You could be made fun of. You could be ostracized. So it was a little bit different back then. It's not a lot different now. It's getting a little better, but it's still problematic.
Oh, it always will be, and it's problematic within the field with people that do believe. Sometimes,
definitely. Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's just it's humans being humans. That's what it is.
Right. Right.
Your memories of that event. When you say you were like 5. I mean,
right.
Do you remember like just how it happened? Like you just got images in your head and you're just telling what you're seeing, or it's just kind of like stories that were told to you? Because I know I did stuff my mom would tell me about, and there's stuff I remember from I had a weird childhood too. I saw a lot of weird stuff, and I remember it's like it set me on the course probably as you did with seeing him of knowing that anything's possible. It opened your brain to that.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. And you realize that the paranormal is real, that it does manifest on the physical realm, and that there are reasons for some of the manifestations. Now, some of them are not. And I always tell people, I say, look, sometimes the other side just wants us to know they're there. It's kind of like, if you will, a text message from the other side.
Right.
Or just somebody saying, hey, I'm here, how you doing? And look, we do that all the time. We're sitting at the bus stop, somebody sits down, hey, how you doing? Okay, how about the seat? Yeah, boy, that's unreal. Are you a baseball fan? Yeah, did you see the Yankees or whatever? And it's just that little bit of connection.
Yeah.
Just that little bit of energy that we exchange, wanting to be human, wanting to have that human contact with the other. And I think that, once we cross to the other side, we don't necessarily lose that. We may want to continue that with whomever. And then, of course, I believe there are various entities, nature spirits, whatever, that pass through, and that may have no intention other than say, hey, I'm here, just acknowledge me a little bit, and, just kind of checking things out.
Did you ever identify who the spirit was that originally started this for you? I mean, like, who he was?
I never did. I never have. And as far as I know, I have never seen him again. Yeah, it was just really awesome. It was like he came to open the portal and activate my gift. He did that. His job was done. And since then, I have never been scared. I've had over 1,000 physical paranormal manifestations. And since that time, I have never been scared again, ever. So it was like, I'm sorry to do this, kid. I got to scare you here to awaken this, but after this, you're going to be fine. And this is going to be a gift that's going to be useful to a lot of people down the road. And it has been. So since then, I've never been frightened, never been scared again.
I don't know. For me, it was a green floating head, and I had a witness. I had a cousin
there
that witnessed it with me, and I heard it like wailing and screaming at us. And I know my audience has heard the story a billion times. I won't go into it, but seeing that, like I said, shaped me as a kid to believe that Slimer and Ghostbusters could be real. I mean, it looked similar to what I saw. So mine was like a Wicked Witch of the West.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like it just left me open to that. I had other experiences as a child I didn't realize were paranormal. Just because I thought I was talking to a real little girl at a time, that wasn't there.
Well, that's kind of the way I was. I was like, isn't everybody this way?
Right.
And it took me a long time to figure out that not everybody was, and that I lived this very unique and very unusual life. And boy, what a blessing it's been! I tell you, it's really been fantastic. It's really been miraculous.
So when did it lead to, you have your childhood experiences and adolescent experiences. Like for me, it never stopped, it's just weirdness of a life, but there's a time period where you don't have focus on it. You're just living your teenage life or whatever. When did it happen for you where you're like, I'm going to be a psychic medium?
Well, I had, my family was always interested, with the exception of my dad, who was actually my stepfather. My entire family was always interested in psychic phenomena, paranormal phenomena.
Yeah.
And so when this happened and I discovered that I had this gift, I began about the age of 12 to study everything I could get my hands on. I was a voracious reader and I had good comprehension, and I studied the paranormal. I studied psychology, parapsychology. I studied religion, everything on spirituality I could get, read everything on psychic phenomena, paranormal phenomena I could get. And the driving urge for me became, let's find out the truth, because there's a lot of stuff out there in religion and in spirituality and in the paranormal that just isn't true, just doesn't work, isn't real, isn't reliable. And so my mission was, let's discover the truth. And then I began to read for family and friends when I was about 15, maybe a little earlier.
Oh, wow.
And then by the time I was 18 years old, I had people driving 200 miles one way to get a reading with me.
Oh, wow.
I had already developed a bit of a reputation and everything. And so at that point, I said, well, okay, then I'm going to do this full time. The demand was there, and I said, I'm going to be professional then and do this full time. And that's when I made the commitment to it.
You start out with tarot, because I saw you said Master Tarot. Was that like how you kind
of? I've used a lot of different things over the years. I always rely primarily on just my psychic gift. Yeah, but I do too. I love tarot also. And there was an organization at the time that was called Tarot International, and you could get the degree of Certified Tarot Master, which I did. And the reason I still use that, and what made this unique among all the things out there, at the time to qualify for this, you had to provide actual readings to real people, and they had to fill out a form and send it in and say, okay, this is how accurate this guy was or wasn't.
Well, that's pretty cool.
This is how good his insights were. The predictions of how accurate did those happen in the time frame and whatever. So you had to have several letters from people that you had read for that would testify to the accuracy, the validity of your readings. And so I got that degree because I was so good at that. And like I say, that was the only organization in existence I know of at the time that did that. And there's some organizations out there now that I don't know what their certification procedures are or whatever. But like
I'm sure the psychic hotline numbers aren't asking for those kind of resumes from their psychics.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. Yeah, they provide you scripts.
Right.
The psychic hotline numbers provide you scripts. And anybody that's got a good gift of gab, they'll give you the script and you elaborate on it. That's how you get your reading there.
Miss Cleo.
Yeah, Miss Cleo. There you go. You go.
Yeah, well, for you, it was a serious thing. I dabbled in it quite a bit in my early 20s, and I got scared off by an incident I had happen, but I always felt it was, if I kept doing it, I could have developed it more and done it. I've had more of an interest getting back into it, but I just find it interesting how, even reading something from a deck of playing cards with no pictures, I was able to do it. It's just something with, I'm not a numerologist. I'm not all the archetypes in there, I couldn't tell you all of them, but it's just like, look at a card and just suddenly you go with the first meaning you see in it, and boom, somehow that really is it. It's just always intrigued me. Like, how does that happen?
Exactly. I know, yeah. yeah, it's just another way to activate that psychic connection between you and another person. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. And, I don't have to use any divinatory devices to do that. I just rely mostly on my psychic gift. I do use the tarot cards in readings most of the time. A lot of times I'll lay them out and never look at them. They're just kind of there.
Yeah.
And, I absorb whatever energy or inference or meaning I need to from them without looking at them. But a lot of times I do utilize them. I do look at them.
Do you think part of it is that they have to give you permission to read them? That's kind of like the
No,
password?
not at all.
No,
No,
that's what I
no,
wonder.
No, not at all. Yeah, I've been able to read anybody whether they wanted it or not. That's why I tell my clients, I say, look, I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear, and I'm not going to provide the information in the way that you might want to hear it. I'm going to tell you the truth as the other side gives it to me for you, and then it's up to you what you do with it. But I'm not going to mollycoddle you. I'm not going to cater to you. I'm not going to, everything's roses and light and happiness and all that. I'm going to give it to you straight, and then it's up to you what you do with it. So, yeah, but there's never been anybody that I couldn't read. There have been a lot of people who didn't want me to read them, but there's never been anybody I couldn't.
Now, and I know you say you don't know who the black gentleman was, but we could always speculate too. I mean, could he have been like one of your guardian angels? I mean, have you seen him ever again since then?
I believe so. Yeah, no, not to my knowledge.
No.
But I do believe he was like a guide or a guardian angel that came through, and he may be there on the other side still with me, and I just don't recognize him as that because I have spirits. I affectionately call everybody on the other side the guys. And that's my retinue of guides and friends that are on the other side and other entities and things that have attached themselves to me and protected me and helped me and guided me since I was a childhood. And a lot of them have been with me since then. And then sometimes a new one comes on board. And so they're always there. I always recognize that aspect of it. But as far as that particular gentleman, I don't know if he's still there in that form or not.
Yeah.
I suspect at least he's been keeping an eye on me all these years. So that's kind of a comforting thing. That's kind of a neat thing.
Now, speaking of you talk about your guides, how does that work? Right. I mean, how did you develop that relationship? I've heard a lot of psychics and mediums on here talk about their guides and spirit guides, but I'm always interested in how they made that connection.
I just became aware that there were these intelligences, there were these beings that were on the other side. And they were communicating with me. They were making themselves known to me. Sometimes they would give me a name. Most times they didn't. It was just, you don't need to know my name. You'll recognize me by my presence. You'll know who I am. You'll know what I'm here for. Here's some guidance I need to give you. And as I became aware of that, I was like, oh, okay, I've got this retinue of people on the other side that, they come through and help me. And I began to recognize that probably around mid-teens, somewhere around in there.
So what have the guides, I'm sure they're there for readings, but in your everyday life, and what is that interaction like,
It ranges from the relatively mundane to the literal life-saving. And when I mean relatively mundane, I'll give you one example. I was, when we lived in upstate New York, we had a two-story house with a basement and an attic. And my office was on the second floor, and sometimes between clients, I would run downstairs for one thing or the other, and we had a washer and dryer in the basement there. And the washer had it was weird. Instead of a one-piece hose into the drain, it had this two-piece hose with a connector. And I did the laundry, and I used it all the time, and everything was fine. So one day, I'm upstairs. I had just finished with a client, and I had a little bit of time before the next one. And I ran downstairs for something, I don't remember what, and then I ran into the basement for some reason. And as I'm standing there, and we had these exposed pipes up in the basement ceiling, and as I'm standing there, I hear this water running through the pipes. And I'm like, what in the world? Because I was home by myself. Right. So I started looking for the source of the water running. I went outside, there were no faucets open. I went through the house, no faucets open, nothing leaking. And I was like, well, what in the world? So I go back down to the basement, and there's this noise of the water running in the pipes, really loud. And I'm like, man, what's going on? And then it dawns on me that it's not physical, it's paranormal.
Ooh.
And I still can't get it. I'm like, guys, what are you trying to tell me? And I said, look, I can't sit here any longer. I've got another client. I got to get back upstairs. You're gonna have to wait, or you're gonna have to tell me quickly, or whatever. So nothing happens. I go back upstairs. I read for my next client. I run back down. I'm like, okay, guys, I'm not getting it. What's going on? And the sound of the running water is still there really loudly. And so I start looking around the basement, and somehow the drain hose, the connector for the washer, had broken and the hose was just hanging loose. And so if I wouldn't have noticed that normally, and I would have loaded up the washer, and the outlet for the washer and the dryer was right above it, so the hose would have been flopping around with water spraying out. It could have sprayed into the outlets. At the very least, it would have minorly flooded the basement. And so I noticed that, and I was like, oh, wow. And when I saw that, the sound of running water stopped. So I was like, okay, guys, thank you. I got it. Thank you for showing me this. So that's relatively mundane, but actually it isn't. You think about the powers that can see that and come through from the other side to help you. That's a miraculous thing. That's a marvelous thing. So I say that's relatively mundane, and then literally to the life-saving point, one example I'll give you there real quick from my first book, Writing with Ghost Angels and the Spirits of the Dead. I've been a biker since I was 15, and I'm riding down the highway. I had scheduled myself a day off, and it was a beautiful day. And I'm riding on one of the interstates here, and I'm just enjoying it. I'm having a good time. It's gorgeous weather, and I'm just lollygagging, with the speed limit of 70 and looking out at the fields and the scenery and everything, and really having a great time. And in Florida, it's probably most places, but in Florida, in the right lane of the interstates where the speed limit's posted 70, you go 80 or 85. The middle lane, you go up to 100. Yeah, and then the left lane, all bets are off. People imagine they're training for the Daytona 500. So
while they're on their cell phone.
Yeah, I'm just lollygagging around at 70, and I'm like, oh, this is really nice. And all of a sudden, the guys go, John, move into, or they didn't say John at first. They just said, move into the far left lane. I'm like, oh, guys, and after all these years, I'll still argue with them. I was like, guys, I don't want to. I said, look at this, man. I'm happy. I'm tooling along. Everything's good. And immediately they go, John, move into the far left lane now. So I'm like, okay. So I have to do all this fancy bob and weave up, shift down, shift, brake on, brake off, throttle on, throttle off, riding to get weave through traffic and get over there into the left lane where traffic's moving a lot faster. Now, I have real good high-speed riding skills, and I'm way below those, but I'm still not wanting to be going that fast. I'm just wanting to lollygag in the right lane and enjoy the traffic. Well, I get over there, and I'm like, guys, what was all that about? And all this happens in less time than it takes me to tell you. And I get over there, and I'm like, guys, what was all that about? And about that time, right where I was at in the right lane, somebody hits this guy, or he hits somebody, and his car spins around in the right lane, facing the wrong way, spins around and faces the wrong way on the interstate. Everybody's still at speed now. And as he's spinning around, I look over, and I see this occur, and his eyes and mine make contact. And I'm like, holy God. And he spins around, and somebody hits him, and people are getting stopped and slowing down. And detritus from the wreck is blowing across the interstate like shrapnel. I mean, like, here comes a bumper, here comes a hubcap, here comes pieces of lights and all this. So I'm dodging all that, and I make it through okay. And I'm like, wow. And I look back, see if I need to stop. But there's a lot of people already stopping. I know people are going to be calling, rendering assistance and all that. So I go on. So if I had not listened to the voices when they told me to move, I'd have been right smack in the middle of that, probably run into him. I'd have been hit by no telling how many cars, and I would know exactly what the other side is like from personal experience by now. So, like I say, the guides have literally been life-saving, and that's not the only incident of that, or the only time that they've literally saved my life or helped me physically, save me physically. So
when you hear the guides, does it come through in another voice that you hear in your head, or is it your own voice, inner voice? What's it like?
No, sometimes it's an inner voice, but it's not my voice. Sometimes it's an inner voice, but it's like just more like an intuitive type voice. Other times it's literally a physical voice that I hear in my head that's not my voice, and that was the case when I was on the bike. And then other times it's an audible voice that I actually hear out loud. Oh, wow. And so they come through in several different ways. So, but I always know it's them.
See, you got to listen to your inner voice sometimes, because I call it the Force. I'm agnostic. I question everything, But for me, the way I look at it is like the Force. A Jedi trusts his instincts. Listen to the Force.
There you go. Yeah.
Because if you hadn't, you'd be a smear mark on the highway.
Exactly right. And I tell people, I said, listen, first thing you have to do, you have to listen. We always ask, oh, gods or angels or guides or whatever, help me, I need this, I need that, do this, do that, do this. And we're always asking, and we never stop and listen. We're always blathering and making noise.
We got a lot of distraction now.
Yeah, when you ask, you got to get quiet and you got to listen. And then when you listen and you hear it, you got to do what they tell you, because it wouldn't have done any good if I'd have kept arguing with the guys and hadn't moved over and then got smashed. When you hear the advice, you got to take the advice. And I always tell everybody that. You got to listen, then you got to take the advice. And then after that, say thanks. You know, thank you goes a long way in the spiritual realm, just like it does here on this old planet.
Oh yeah, I mean, I had when I was really young, I fell out of a moving car and I almost got hit by a car. But I had a voice tell me to lay down. It was a female voice. I heard it like in my head. You know, like I heard her say, "Lay down." And,
there you go.
You know, and I didn't get up. You know,
and
this car went right over me. You know, it's
it's
like I heard
they'll help us if we'll listen. Yeah, they'll help us if we'll listen. And a lot of people say, you know, well, where was my guardian angel when I had this wreck, or when this happened, or when that happened?
Well, you lived.
Well, you know, yeah. Well, you lived, and besides that, you know, were you listening?
Yeah.
You know, we're so distracted, and we're so out of touch with the other side, and we're so out of touch with our intuitions and our guides and everything, that it's a miracle to me that anybody gets any leading, any guidance, any intuition, that the guides can get through to them at all, because we're always plugged in. We've always got the cell phone. We've always got the earbuds in. We've got something going on.
Our own inner chatter.
Yeah, our own inner chatter. You know, well, let's see, I'm applying for this job, what I need to tell them, and what, and we get so involved in things that we don't listen, and that's a skill that we need to reacquire and reacquaint ourselves with.
It's something I'm trying to work on. I'm like getting more interested in my you know, I just turned 42, and I'm like, I really want to get back into like developing the stuff that I'd have amazing, weird, you know, stuff and know stuff I should have no way of knowing. And I, you know, I've had that like inner voice talk to me. Like it's like that little inner voice is just different from your own and give you information you just have no way of knowing. And I want to get back into that. You know, I probably don't have the natural gifts you had, but I feel like I could get there. You know, I just got to try to, like you said, listen to it more.
Well, that's it. You have to listen to it. And then people have to realize, people ask me, you know, is everybody psychic? Well, yes, everybody's psychic to a degree. And what I mean by that is some of us are going to sit down and take piano lessons for 10 years and not play worth a hoot. Nobody wants to hear us. Nobody wants to listen to us. Other people are going to sit down at the age of 5, and a year later, they're composing music and playing Chopin pieces and Beethoven pieces and on and on and on. So everybody has their degree of gifts that they're given. So everybody's a little bit psychic, but not everybody is able to develop it to the point that I have or that other people have. And that's okay. It just means that you're not going to. You've got a little bit of a gift, and it goes X amount far, and you have to find out what that plateau is and do that to the best of your ability. And then, you know, don't fret if it doesn't go any further than that, because I can't sit down at the piano and play Chopin, you know.
Yeah.
But this I can do. And another thing that people don't understand is that, you know, I had this natural gift, and I had all these experiences, all this help, all these manifestations from the other side. But since the age of 12 and continuing through now, I have studied everything on the planet I could get my hands on. I have read diligently. I have studied diligently. I have practiced diligently. And I have done everything in my power to increase that communication and that solidification with the other side, and to make that meaningful, real, and helpful in my life and my clients' lives and in other people's lives. So it's not just that you got the gift. You got to work at that gift. You got to train that gift. It's like somebody that is a naturally gifted runner. If they sit on the couch and watch TV and eat snacks all day, they're not going to go out and win the Boston Marathon, even though they're naturally gifted.
Right.
You still have to train that gift. And people make the mistake of thinking that you have a spiritual gift and that it's just automatic and you don't have to work at it. Nothing could be further from the truth.
Right. Like all the instances I've had, you know, I mean, I did really well at tarot reading. That was the only time like I would try to do readings, but I'd have some amazing instances, but they'd be uncontrollable, you know, like wasn't trying kind of deal.
Right.
You know, I want to be able to try, and I'm going to do it, and I can do it, you know. And that's that's the only closest I got was doing tarot readings, you know.
Yeah,
so
that's where the practice and the training comes in. And then, like I say, you know, everybody hits their plateau, and, you know, you kind of get what you get. It's like I always wanted to be a great runner, and I've had asthma and COPD since I was young. And you just don't become a great runner with asthma and COPD.
No.
You know, it's just not possible. You don't do it. So everybody has to recognize their limitations, their plateau, the limitations to whatever amount of gift they're given, and so on and so forth. And I think that's one thing that dissatisfies a lot of people in the world, is that they're chasing things that they aren't meant to chase, or trying to do things that are not within their realm of possibility. And to find that happiness.
For me, I mean, like, the most powerful experience I've had, I've talked on this show about a lot, is I held a picture of somebody who had been deceased, and I knew their first name, I knew their last name, I knew they hid stuff in their house from when they were in the war, that they were an alcoholic, all that stuff, and it was all from not even trying. Like, it was psychometry. I didn't even know that at that time. I was always into the paranormal, but I didn't even know that specific term for what I was doing at that time. But after that, I got into okay, I'm going to try to read the tarot, or how do I develop the gifts, and I got heavily into it. Then I got scared away. Because I saw I did a reading for a guy that I think had really bad energy or mojo, and I saw a dead-looking zombie-like guy sitting on my couch, and that was the last time I did a real tarot reading. I was like, oh, I'm done. That was many years ago, and I'm done now on the show. We'll do like live psychic game night, and everybody's open to try and like develop on the show, and just have fun. If you're wrong, you're wrong. Who cares? Let's just have fun and see where we get, and we can develop. And I've done some tarot readings on there. I don't know how well, but it's something I think everybody that watches my show has an interest. That like I said, everybody's psychic, and everybody wants to develop it. I think it's worth it. I think the world would be changed or a better place if we all listened to those inner voices a little more.
Yeah, that's true. And in line with that, the 2 books I've written that are out now, I'm writing a 3rd book, which I think everybody will really enjoy when I get it out, hopefully at the end of the year, maybe first part of next year. And it's called 20 Ways to Increase Your Psychic Abilities.
Oh, there you go.
And each chapter contains a specific spiritual tool or technique that I've learned how to practice. Mostly the other side has taught me these things directly, so it's not a rehash of things. It's not just rote book meanings or whatever. And each chapter is different in that it takes, like, for example, the first chapter is psychometry. It tells you what it is, defines it. It tells you how to learn it, how to practice it, how to use it, and then the real-world application of it. Because what most people don't realize is that every spiritual gift has an actual real-world application. You can take it out in the real world, help yourself, help others with it. And, like, so you take psychometry from a party trick. I'll borrow somebody's ring and tell them everything about it, and everybody's like, "Oh, woo, that's neat." Yeah, but what good does it do to anybody? Nothing, right? So it tells you then how to take that skill and take it out into the real world with real-world practical applications. And there'll be 20 chapters, 20 different techniques. It'll cover everything from psychometry to seances to reading the tarot cards to dream interpretation, everything. It's going to be a pretty neat book. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Do me a favor, John. When that comes out, if you remember, little old Smee, send me an email. I would like to get that book. I would like to get all your books, but I'm really interested in that book because it's kind of where I'm at in the phase of my life. So that sounds perfect.
Absolutely, I will. Yeah. So I'll holler at you when that finally gets out.
So much I want to talk to you about. I want to get into the paranormal investigations you've done, because I know you've done paranormal investigations, but I also kind of want to really get into the one book, Writing with Ghosts, Angels, and Spirits of the Dead, because I picture this psychic John Russell on a motorcycle, just on the road, discovering the weird, and that's why I want to really read this book. So can you tell us a little more about what is this book about?
Well, it came about, I had shot a TV pilot for the History Channel, which unfortunately didn't air.
Right.
And I've learned that this is fairly common, doggone it, because we really, really had a good crew and a good presentation of the show. I think it would have set the bar for all paranormal shows to come, in all honesty. But anyways, for whatever reason, it didn't air, but I became very good friends with my producer there. And we continued to work on projects together. And one thing that he asked me to do was to develop a blog on the internet with some very short snippets of paranormal experiences that I had had, or thoughts about the paranormal and so on and so forth. And he said we can use that as an additional marketing tool when we approach TV networks and so on and so forth. So I said, okay. Well, about that time, now I've ridden since I was about 15, 16, and been a biker my whole life. So about that time, I began to have some really, really bizarre, incredible, phenomenal experiences, paranormal experiences, that were unique mostly to and centered around my motorcycle rides.
That's awesome.
So I said, okay, I began to include some of those in there. And as we went along, I looked at those and I said, there's really something unique and really something special here. And I have to gather all these together, and I have to expand them into the full form, not just a little short blog post, but everything that happened regarding that incident, and then collect these together because this is really something special here. And that's how that book came about. And I have to say, I have to tell everybody this all the time. It's like anybody that's written or knows anything about the field of writing knows that when you approach an agent, a publisher, or an editor, you tell them, my book is unique, there's nothing else like it out there. They're going to tell you, BS, give me 3 comparable titles. There's always something out there that's similar to yours. Give me 3 comparable titles so I know what we're dealing with. So I told everybody, I said, I understand that, but this book is absolutely, totally unique. There literally is nothing else out there like this in the realm of the paranormal or spiritual literature. So this friend of mine, who is an editor and a publisher, read the manuscript, and he said, there is nothing else out there like this. This is unique in this field. There's absolutely nothing else out there like this. So I can guarantee the readers, I can guarantee everybody listening that when they read this, it's going to be like, okay, I have never read anything like this before. And a lot of the feedback I get, a lot of the reviews I get, the people that leave for me are saying exactly that. Like, I've read this stuff my whole life. I've never read anything like this. So the experiences are really unique, really dramatic, really, really cool, a lot of fun. There's a lot of travel. There's a lot of neat adventure. There's a lot of neat places I go. I go to Bonaventure Cemetery over in Savannah, Georgia, the famous Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. So I'm there, and just all over Florida, all over Georgia, a lot of neat stuff, a lot of fun things, and just a lot of incredible experiences. And then what I do is I share with you what I learned from those experiences, what you may learn from them, maybe how we can apply them, maybe how we can advance and grow spiritually through the knowledge of those experiences. And so that's basically how that book came about. It was kind of an accident, really. And then my second book, which is A Knock in the Attic, that's actually kind of a prequel to Writing with Ghosts. It goes back to the experience of me waking up to the old black ghost, comes up through my childhood, what it was like to grow up psychic into my teen years, into my adulthood, and discusses my paranormal and religious journeys along the way. There's lots more phenomenal paranormal events, manifestations, things that I discuss, more guardian angel stories, and in it, for the very first time, I discussed the TV pilot that I did for the History Channel, where I explored the assassination of Lincoln. That's discussed in A Knock in the Attic.
Oh, see, that I'm interested in. I'd like to read that because when I was one of the, you talk about dreams, you're like, you wake up and you suddenly, why am I awake? I had one of those experiences once, and this is going to be really weird. I don't think I've talked about this one on the show. I don't think I have. I woke up and Abraham Lincoln was sitting on the edge of my bed. I'm not joking. And it wasn't a dream because he literally evaporated in front of me. I still to this day don't know what that's about. I have no idea. But I went to and it would have been after when I was maybe a few years before that happened, because I think I was like 13. Well, no, it could have been around the time, not long after I had gone to Ford's Theater. Mm-hmm. Where he was shot. Wasn't it Ford's Theater? Yeah.
Yep.
And I don't know if they had any connection or why I saw him in my room. It was just one of those weird things, a part of my life. I have no idea what it was about, but I've always been fascinated by Abraham Lincoln. I don't know if I have a connection to it or not. My wife has an aunt that's always been fascinated by it. She has all these collectibles of Abraham Lincoln. I'm like, I totally see it.
One of the things that I tell people to do in interpreting things when they get a sign or an omen or a manifestation or whatever, one of the key things to interpreting that, if the interpretation isn't apparent right away, is to ask yourself, what does Lincoln mean to me? What does that represent to me? What does that arouse in me? What do I feel about Lincoln? And a lot of times that'll give you the answer as to why that manifestation is there.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I had a past life dream where I was a little slave black girl and I was beaten to death. That's a whole other story. I don't know if that's connected to it.
Right.
I don't know. I've always had like a
that's something you can,
fascination.
That's something you can take and just mull over and say, okay, thinking about Lincoln, what does Lincoln represent to me? What does that mean to me when I see Lincoln or think about Lincoln? And, we're always our own best interpreter usually of like our dreams, our signs, our omens, because the other side communicates to us a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times, in ways that are specific to us that we can relate to and understand, and especially in our dreams. That's one of the keys to dream interpretation. And the reason I say we're our own best dream interpreter, if being a typical straight white male, if I see a red high heel in a dream, boy, that's sexy to me. I imagine a gal with these red high heels on, hot dog, that's hot, that's sexy. Now, if a gal that's a waitress is on her feet all day, sees a red high heel in the dream, it's going to look like a torture device to her.
Right?
There ain't going to be
There's a big
nothing
world of
sexy
difference.
about it. Yeah. So there's a big world of difference. So we have to get used to the symbols that come through to us in our dreams and what they mean to us individually. And when we understand that, then begin to pay attention to that, then the other side and our own subconscious can begin to guide us in dreams and convey information to us in ways that make sense for us.
I think it's not just dreams though too. I mean, it seems like a lot of psychics and mediums I know. You talk about having to practice and develop like the symbols in their head to know what they mean when they see them. Like the communication tools.
Right.
I always find that interesting.
A lot of psychics do that, and I don't really have. That's never been a real thing for me, because the information comes to me whole usually without me having to interpret it. So I never have had
just
to
like
rely
a
on
knowing
symbols or anything. Yeah, and it's like I can describe the insides of people's houses accurately sometimes, or I can get names or whatever, this, that, and the other. So I usually don't have to rely on the symbols. I can just get the facts and present the facts to people without having to rely on the symbols.
Yeah, I don't know if I could do the symbol thing either, because I'd be like, I can't remember what that symbol meant. Show me something else.
Yeah, really. Exactly. Too much to keep track of.
Right.
Now, I will tell you a funny thing regarding symbols. One time when I was doing a tarot reading for this friend of mine, and it was by phone. She was in another state, and I was doing this reading. This particular deck I was using had a character in it that had a helmet on his head, like a Viking helmet with horns on it. And I said, this guy represents the person that you're dating right now. And I had described him physically, and she agreed that the description was accurate, so I was getting who she was dating. And I said, there's just something here that, as hard as I try as I might, I cannot make this out for the world to me, but the other side shows me that it's like hugely important, and I just can't figure it out. She said, what is it? And I said, well, I'm looking at this card. The character in the card has a helmet on his head with these horns on it, like Viking horns. But I said, the horns don't look like horns to me. They look like teeth. And she started laughing, and when she caught her breath, she said, the guy I'm dating's a dentist.
Yeah.
I go, okay, there we go.
That's how they're getting it to you.
Yeah, so a lot of times you'll get the understanding, and you can convey that to the client. Sometimes the client has to convey it to you, and that was one of the incidents where they did. But that was one of the more hilarious moments regarding symbols.
Well, I've been fascinated about how psychics do their communication. I remember watching John Edwards when he would do his show on Sci-Fi Channel, and
John Edward, right? Yeah.
Like I said, he's like, I get a red rose, and that means an anniversary, and blah 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 blah, and they talk really fast, that interests me. Like, it's almost like for psychics and their spirit guides, it's like they are the charade masters of telepathy. Like they have to have be able to be so connected they can communicate in a way, because you can't just talk to each other. It's like they have to reach your mental state. You guys have to reach each other's energy, and they got to be able to get you to understand what they're coming through. And I'm sure it's just fascinating how it might work on the other side. Won't know until we get there, right?
Well, that's it. We won't know until we get there. And right now, everything we've got, for all that we know, we don't know anything. I mean, it's all speculation. We've all got ideas of how things work, but we're not sure.
Right.
We're not, 100% knowledgeable. And that's one of the things like doing EVP, electronic voice phenomena. I was talking with somebody the other day, and we were talking about EVP, and they were talking about, I said, there's a frequency there. And this frequency enables a person or a being on the other side to speak in such a way that a recorder can pick it up, but we don't hear it with our ears. But the recorder picks it up. When we play it back, then we can hear it with our ears.
But it doesn't show up on spectrograph.
Yeah, what is that frequency? And that's what this guy was saying. in addition to being a paranormal researcher, he's a professional musician.
Yep.
And he said, he said, I know how to take all of this software and do everything in the world to music. And he said, I've taken all these EVPs and I've gone through them with everything I can with a fine-tooth comb, and you can hear them, but I can't find the frequency that they're speaking on.
Right. You can put up.
So I told him, I said, when we discover that frequency, that's when we'll start having two-way real-time communication with the other side, But we haven't found that yet. For all our technology, for all our striving, for all our work, we still haven't found that. So there's so much we just haven't even scratched the surface yet.
Exactly. Well, I got into it because one of the reasons I didn't, when I got 2008 was when me and my wife took like our first paranormal classes through Purdue North Central at the time, and I went into it knowing I had these abilities, but I didn't want to go in and be the psychic at an investigation. I wanted to go in and get the EVPs. I want to get video evidence. I want to show the paranormal's real after having so many years of people look at me like I'm crazy. So I didn't have any interest in any psychic phenomenon back then. I later on became more interested in psychic phenomenon and having psychics on investigation, especially seeing the evidence that happens when they're there. The manifestation. That's why I've always been fascinated with the early 1900s and the spiritualist movement and the manifestations. There's a lot of hoaxing, but there might have been some real stuff in there. And we've talked about it on the show and had guests that have been a part of seances and kind of like the Skull Project, that kind of thing where they're manifesting objects and things and spirits, and it's like they're ultimately testing that psychic battery theory.
Right. Yeah, and you make a really good point there that we have to address too. There is a lot of fraud out there in the psychic realm, in the paranormal realm. But that does not mean that the real doesn't exist, that the genuine doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And so we have to understand that. And I'm like you. I've always enjoyed getting that physical proof, and I've got ghost photography, spirit photography, whatever you want to call it. And I have just wonderful, dramatic examples there that something paranormal.
I wish I did. I suck at the photography part. I'm great. I got tons of I'm an audio guy, so I have tons of EVPs. Right. I was never the photo guy in our group.
And the EVPs are wonderful, wonderful example. And when I shot the pilot, we got on film. We got really good evidentiary proof of paranormal activity. So
in Ford Cedar, Lincoln.
No, this was actually at the Mud House.
Ooh.
Yeah, when we went to the Samuel Mud House.
And so that never aired, though?
No, doggone it. And
man.
Yeah, it was.
What did you get? What did you get? Since we can't see, I would love to know.
Well, when we were at the Mud House, I believe, I don't know for 100% certain, but at the time, this is, I guess over a decade ago now that we shot this thing. And at the time, I believe we were the very first paranormal investigation to use FLIR camera, forward-looking infrared radiation. And I think we were the very first to use that. A lot of people use them now, but I think we were the first. And so we had traditional camera, and then we had the FLIR. And FLIR shows things, cold shows up as black, and heat shows up as white. So we were in the Mud House, and we heard this noise. Everybody heard the noise, and I said, there's our ghost. And we went downstairs. And I said, I believe it's the ghost of Mrs. Mudd. And I said, Mrs. Mudd, did you make that noise? And psychically, she told me yes. And I said, I was standing there, and they were shooting me on the FLIR and the regular camera. And I said, she's standing over here. And I said, she's walking toward me right now. And I said, she's walking through me. I can feel her energy. She's not walking around me. She's literally passing through me and coming out the other side. Well, when I said that on the FLIR, we caught these black footsteps, which indicates cold. And nobody was around me. Nobody was near me. Nobody had been walking over there.
And your guys' foot would be hot.
Yeah, otherwise you'd see it as white. And we got these black footsteps. They were small women's footsteps in what looked like period era shoes. And they walked across and walked right through me, and we got that on the FLIR.
Like you could see the footsteps appearing as live in the video? Oh,
yeah,
my God.
live on the video, awesome. Yeah, on the FLIR, yeah. And so we caught that, and so it was really phenomenal. Like I say, I wish it would have aired. I think we would have set the standard for, because I don't go in places and curse at the ghosts and challenge them, and I don't
come at me, bro.
yeah. And if something appears, I don't scream like a little girl and run. It's like that's what you're there for Pete's sake. And
like, what did you come here for?
Exactly. So we approached it in a very dignified manner, a very educated manner, a very serious manner. And it's just like it's a shame we couldn't get it out there. But yeah.
You said I mean, we're going to go up to commercial break. I'm a little interested too that you actually psychically saw the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, or communicated with it. What was that like? If you can briefly tell us about that.
That was just incredible, and we can expand more on that after the break if you want to.
Yeah.
But, we got to go in Ford's Theater and explored that. We got to go to the Peterson House across the street where they took Lincoln after he was shot and he died. We went to the Samuel Mudd House. We went to the spot where John Wilkes Booth eventually met his demise.
Oh, wow.
And it was just the energy was absolutely unbelievable. It was just incredible. And because we had the cachet of Atlas Media and the History Channel, we got to go to all these places with just me and the film crew. No other tourists there, nobody else there. All these places opened up for us privately with just the docents there and no tourists, nobody else there while we filmed. And it was just one of the most incredible experiences of my life. It was awesome.
We're going up on a commercial break. I'd love to talk about that because when I was a kid, I got to go. I got to go there on my Washington field trip, and I'll never. I mean, Ford Theater was cool. I mean, I was like, wow, this is really awesome. But I've always been a big history, buff. So I don't know, but when we went into the house where he died, where they took him, where he died.
Peterson House.
Peterson House, yeah. When we went in there, and I saw that blood-stained pillow. You remember they got the pillow in there? It's like got the blood stain on it. I had all this imagery going through my head and all this emotion. I don't know if it's just me being, what I was at 13 or whatever. But man, I felt like such a powerful energy in there. And I don't know if I was picking up on anything or it's just that knowing, what the history was. But man, you could feel it in that. It was hard in Ford Theater. There were so many people. It was echoey, and there was just so much going on. But we got like a little group that got to go in at a time into the house. And man, I don't know if that's why I had that connection, like where I had that dream where I woke up with him on the edge of my bed, probably months later. But yeah, so
and I'll tell you when we come back from break, I'll tell you something interesting about Ford's Theater and about the Peterson House and stuff.
All right, yeah, we'll get to that. All right, guys, we'll talk about that when we come back, and we're going to open up the phone lines when we come back. Wait to call in until I say. Don't try to call right now, but very soon I will open up the phone lines. You guys can call into the show, talk to our guests, get a little mini reading from our guest John Russell. He's a psychic medium. Remember, it's not going to be a long reading. You can go to johnrussell.net, I'm sure, to try to find a time to set up with John for that. But we will take your calls in just a little bit when we come back from this short commercial break.
Of sensory deprivation and hallucinatory drugs. The subject of the experiment is himself, and the experiment is out of control. Ken Russell's Altered States, a film that must not be missed, is in the West End now. Altered States, Certificate X.
Do you wish for more paranormal and spiritual content? The Paranormal Chronicles magazine is a free digital magazine crammed with the very best in paranormal and spiritual articles and features. No sign-up, no subscription, just free reading and knowledge for you. Read today at www.paranormalchronicles.com/magazine.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope.
That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Paranation Magazine is a new paranormal magazine based out of Denver, Colorado. Our goal isn't just to give you the best paranormal content out there, but to promote paranormal unity. We're doing this by giving everyone an opportunity to tell their stories and to share their experiences. For more information, follow us on Facebook at Paranation Magazine and soon, paranationmag.com.
I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is the extraordinary travels of a young, alone, and broke psychic in the highly anticipated new book from internationally renowned psychic, medium, medical intuitive, and best-selling author Sherry Dillard. Critics have described I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like as an engrossing memoir, an empowering story of how a broken girl came to accept her psychic gift, a refreshing and fun read. I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is available through Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, and wherever books are sold.
Edgar Allan Poe wrote Spirits of the Dead with a pen dipped in warm blood. You will see the ultimate in terror with this important all-star cast. Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda in Edgar Allan Poe's Spirits of the Dead. Only Poe's demented genius could bring to the screen such horror and evil. Spirits of the Dead stars Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda. Directed by three masters of the cinema, Federico Fellini, Louis Malle, and Roger Vadim. Spirits of the Dead is an adventure in terror beyond your wildest nightmares. Spirits of the Dead in color is rated R.
The answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything is $42. Yes, I thought it over quite thoroughly. It is, it's 42. It would have been simpler, of course, to have known what the actual question was.
But it was the question. The ultimate question. Of everything.
That's not a question. Only when you know the question will you know what the answer means.
You're listening to Paranormal Soup, bringing you the weird every Sunday night. Call into the show and join the discussion. The call-in lines are 219-230-4444 or 260-225-9419, or by Skype caller ID OOJBland00 or JBland Paranormal Soup. And now to your host, Jason Bland.
Tonight we're talking to psychic medium John Russell, and I am going to open up the phone lines here. I'm going to take calls right away, but we will hear soon, because I want to talk about Ford's Theater, where he saw psychically the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, and I've always been fascinated by Abraham Lincoln, of course. Well, I just told you tonight why. I thought I saw the ghost of Abraham Lincoln on my bed for whatever reason. It's not one I've told a lot of people because it sounds so crazy, but I just had a feeling to talk about it tonight because it'd be a dream to get to investigate Ford's Theater, the Peterson house, the house where he died, the Mud House, all those things. Oh my God, history there. I would, as a paranormal investigator, it'd be like Disneyland to me. I love stuff with historic, so I kind of have to touch upon this, but we do have the phone lines open. If you want to call in now, remember, it's just the two phone lines, 219-230-4444, or the Skype ID OOJBland00. Call in, just wait till I call upon you, but let's go ahead and get back to our guest. You still there with me, John?
I'm there.
So tell me, about your night there at Fort Sear, getting to live my paranormal investigator dream there. Getting to investigate that.
That was so incredible. We, for one thing, you have to understand that no matter how much you may renovate, repaint, restore, whatever, you don't destroy the energy from an occurrence that happened at a location. So that energy is still there, every bit as strong for anybody that's sensitive to pick up on and to feel. So going into all these places, the energy was just overwhelming. It was just awesome, absolutely marvelous. And what made this really great for me and what really made it great for the film crew was I am one of the absolute, literal poorest students of history on the planet. I don't like it. I dislike it. I've never studied it. I was the guy that in class wrote the crib notes on his hand to try and pass the test. And so this is what made it so great for the film crew. Like, okay, this guy knows nothing. I knew that Booth assassinated Lincoln at Ford's Theater, and that was it. That was all I knew. And they said, okay, anything this guy gets then is going to be really, really evidentiary. It was because he just knows nothing, and so that made it even better. So, and that made it so great for me because I was able to challenge things that were accepted history that we were able to prove, no, it didn't go down that way. And one of the examples was in Ford Theater, they have the museum underneath there.
Yeah.
And we went into the museum, went up to one of the displays, and it said, here's a door that was the door into Lincoln's private booth, the presidential booth box, also called the state box. And they said this hole was drilled in the door by Booth so that he could peek in and see where Lincoln was at and what he was doing so he could burst in there and shoot him. And I said, nope, this isn't right. And that's the accepted history, and that's what's in the Ford Theater and the museum. And I said, no, this is not right. Booth didn't drill this hole. I said, Booth had this hole drilled by someone in the theater that wouldn't arouse suspicion by being here, but Booth did not drill this hole himself.
Yeah, it would make
after
sense.
After the pilot was filmed, and all through, we had Lincoln experts, and we had research we were doing all through the thing, and we were able to validate that because everybody poured through every Lincoln thing they could find, every top researcher they could find, and sure enough, the hole was drilled by a carpenter in the employ of the theater and was not drilled by Booth. So I was correct on that, and there was a lot of other things I was correct on that we were able to validate, which was really awesome, which was really neat. So that was one of the things. And then when we went to the Peterson house, one of the incredible things to me that I didn't even know until I was talking with one of our camera crew when I was writing the book, A Knock in the Attic, and talking about my experience filming the pilot. And I didn't even know this until I talked to him. And he said that while we were there, he went up to the guards and the docents, the people that were there.
Yeah.
And he said, this is a one-time shot. This is a big deal. this is going on the History Channel. What do I need to make sure that I don't miss while we're here? And they told him, I said, well, it doesn't really matter much because a lot of the stuff in here is just recreations anyways. It's not original.
Right.
I was like, oh, wow. And I didn't even know that until I talked to him right as I was writing the book, which just came out in February of this year. And to me, it made absolutely no difference because the original energy of the events were still there, and that's what I could pick up on. And then I have some theories about things that are recreations of objects or artifacts or whatever. Maybe they absorb some of the original energy that's there, and people can read them just like they could read the original artifact. That may be a real possibility because
it's like an era. They call it era cue, kind of like it signals you into that time era.
Right, and so the replacement object may absorb some of the energy that was there from the original object and maintain that. But I was able to read everything that occurred, regardless of what had been done or hadn't been done. And it was an incredible experience, and made more so, like I say, by the fact that I'm the worst student of history on the planet. And so the things that I was able to get and we were able to verify, that made it all the more spectacular then.
Well, I know historically, you talk about like the carpenter drill in the hole, that makes sense. People might not realize it wasn't just Booth all on his own. There was a lot of people that helped him.
Oh, it was a big conspiracy. Yeah, it was a big conspiracy, a very widespread conspiracy.
There's a lot of people who knew. The bodyguard disappeared. You never, what was his name? He disappeared.
That's one of the things I brought up is like, where was the bodyguard when Booth came up to burst in and shoot Lincoln? Where was the bodyguard? So, there was, as one of our Lincoln experts put it in the pilot, he said, Booth pulled the trigger, but there were a lot of hands holding the gun.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was definitely conspiracy, and a lot of people probably got away by the skin of their teeth,
Sure.
But there are a lot of people that hung, too. There were a lot of people that got hung connected to it.
Exactly, including the first woman hung in the U.S.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was, there could be a reason why the bodyguard never showed up. He knew he'd probably be...
He'd probably be hung. Exactly.
Definitely somebody wants to take the blame for that one is like the missing bodyguard. I always found what I was always fascinated with Lincoln is his premonitions that he had, because I've had a lot of dreams myself that come true, and it's something that fascinated me. And when I first heard as a kid that Lincoln had a number of premonitions of his own assassination, I was fascinated.
Yeah, he had a lot of premonitions, and I picked up that he had a premonition about his death, about his assassination. And what I didn't know until I was doing a little research of my own for the book was that Lincoln had something like over 10,000 death threats during his term in office. So this guy was just one brave son of a gun to keep going and do what he did. It was incredible. But yeah, he had premonitions all the time. And as a matter of fact, I believe it was the night before his assassination, I believe he had a premonition. And I discerned that when Booth burst through the door, Lincoln immediately went, this is it.
I always had that feeling about it, too.
Knew what was coming.
Oh, wow. I've always had that feeling about Lincoln when at that moment, that he's just like, yep, this is everything. This is what it meant. He knew. Like, I don't almost hope he didn't. Like, it was just quick and it was over with for him. But I always felt like he had this feeling of, like, oh, shoot.
Yeah, here it is.
Be predestined to die like that and have those visions. It's just such a crazy story. And his wife, she was so into the supernatural.
Right.
It's just the time period of early modern. It was the beginning of the modern industrial period. Of Abraham Lincoln, and how society was changing. That was when the spiritualist movement was having its early beginnings. There's just so much there. Just so much history becomes that. Now we do have somebody that's been waiting on the phone line. I want to get to, if you're all right with that, John.
Sure.
All right. So we got 860 area code. Who do we got on the line?
Hello, Jason. John, this is Royal from Connecticut.
Royal.
How are you?
Hey, good. Happy Father's Day, Royal.
Good. Thank you so much. Also to you.
Thank you.
I was just wondering if maybe I could get a small reading from John while I have him on the phone.
Sure. Go ahead. What's your question?
Do you need to know any information from me, or?
No. Just your question. Just a quick question.
I was just wondering, like, where is my life going from this point on? I just turned 57 on June 15th, and I was just kind of pondering a lot lately, like, where's my life headed to at this point?
I hear you.
Right. Well, and obviously we're hitting the high points here. We're not going into depth here. But one of the things that I see for you is there's some type of nostalgia there, some type of a need for a return to something that's more meaningful for you. I keep seeing the outdoors. I keep seeing like the wilderness, like forest, like the outdoors type thing. And so that seems to have a significance and a meaning for you. And I think it's two things. I think it's literal, and I think it's also figurative in the sense that you need some alone time, some isolation, that reconnection with nature that's going to help you. So I think it's both a literal and a figurative thing. I think there is some creativity there that you've either had and abandoned or neglected, or that you need to develop. And by creativity, that could be anything from music, photography, sculpting, whatever. But there's some creativity there that you need to connect with, that you need to either develop or redevelop, and enjoy that. Don't get too caught up in the trying to change the world type thing or whatever, and don't get too caught up in trying to figure out your life's experiences and what they've meant, and trying to sort things out or get any closure, because you're not going to be able to. What you need to do at this point is to take a honest assessment of yourself, say, okay, I've got this, I can do this, I'm able to do that, and let me move forward now and connect with some joy and some happiness in my life, and not worry about all these other things in the past. Just let me close the door on them and move forward. Does that make some sense for you?
It makes a lot of sense, John. I used to be quite an outdoorsman. I was a hunter my whole life with my family, my father, and my brothers, and I haven't been out in the wilderness now for probably 15 years or more already.
There you go. You need to make that reconnection,
which I haven't done in at least 15
There's
years.
The creativity. Yep.
Something that I need to reconnect with.
Absolutely. There's the creativity. There's the outdoor connection. That's exactly what you need to be doing. So get back in touch with that, and that's going to be more meaningful in your life than you can imagine right now.
I can imagine. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Thank you, Royal.
Thank you, Jason.
I feel Royal on that. I didn't turn 57. I turned 42 on June 10th, and it's like, I'm doing the show. That's, I'm still amazed that it's been 6 years I've been doing this show, and I love it. It's,
right.
I feel very fortunate to be able to do this show and have the family I have and have the life I have. But I do feel like I'm at starting to approach like a crossing period where I got to make a move. I got to do something. I don't know. It's like birthdays come around to kick you in the butt sometimes. That's why I'm not a big fan of them.
Absolutely. I'll just wait to get my age, kid. I'm 67, so just wait. Yeah, but you do. I think what you need to do, you need to keep a steady hand at the helm, but you just need to kind of expand more what you're doing and go a little deeper with it and expand it a little bit more, a little more visibility, a little more recognition, a little more connection. And I think some bigger things are waiting for you. So just hang in there.
I have a feeling like I'm at the tip of something. I don't know. It's a weird feeling. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know.
Yep.
But, so, I mean, people, the phone lines are open, 219-230-4444. If I hang up on you on that line when you call in, people, I just want to let you know I'm having a little bit of an issue. Oh, here's somebody calling in now. If I hang up on you, it's either because I got somebody else, but be prepared. I might call you back because I have a little issue with that line. Sometimes it doesn't want to pick up on the right phone, so I have to call you back. So just remember, if just hang in there, I'll try to call you back if I hang up on you. But we do have another caller. We got Zach on the line. How you doing tonight, Zach?
I'm doing pretty good, brother. How was your Father's Day?
It was really good, except that I'm really hurting and sore because I spent my Father's Day putting in a kitchen floor.
I hear you, man. So I just wanted to call in just for a mini reading over from John, and then also I'll share a really quick story that really goes along with some of the stories that he has been sharing as well, because I've had an experience on my own.
Awesome. All right.
Hey, John. It's very nice to meet you, sir.
Zach, nice to meet you. What's your question for me real quick?
All right. So come August, I'll be opening up another business. I just want to know, if I continue on the path that I'm going on right now, will it be very successful to where I can be able to make it my sole means of income?
Yeah, you will. This is, as soon as you said that you were going to be opening up this other business, I got this real wash over me of this positivity, this optimism, this feeling of relaxation and hopefulness, like, yes, this guy's doing what he's supposed to be doing. Normal lumps and bruises, we all have our setbacks and everything, even if we are doing what we're supposed to be doing, but hang in there with it. The one thing you want to be really careful of, Zach, in doing this, be really careful who you listen to, and don't get all upset and think, oh, I need to take on partners, or I need to get this advice or that advice or do this thing. Steer the ship yourself, or you're going to get in trouble. Okay?
All right, man. I will definitely do that. And then, of course, I wanted to share a really quick story because, John, I love the stories that you've been sharing so far. And I had a similar experience. This was about 10 years ago. I was driving in West Texas on the I-10. I was going out to Austin.
My old stomping ground.
Oh, I knew you had to be Texas with that accent.
Yeah. Go ahead.
But yeah, anyway, I was just outside of Ozona over on the I-10 there, and throughout West Texas there, I mean, the speed limit is 80, so which to me means I could go 90 miles an hour just speeding on the I-10.
There you go.
But it started raining heavily whenever I was driving through there, and I had to stop and I had to get gas, and I was getting on the off ramp right there, and I lost control of my vehicle. I was just going down this off ramp. I couldn't use the brakes at all. My car was going out of control. I heard this little voice in my head tell me, turn the wheel. And there were no cars that were coming the road right there on the off ramp. So immediately I turned my vehicle and I start swerving. And I land smack dab right next to the gas station that I was going to be moving into. And if I had not turned that wheel, I would have gone into a ditch.
Right.
Which would have been really bad. But I tell you what, it was probably one of my spirit guides that was telling me just exactly
absolutely.
What to do.
Like I say, our guardian angels do watch over us if we'll listen, and that's a good example of it. So we appreciate you sharing that story.
And thank you so much, John, also for giving me the reading as well. I do
You're
greatly
welcome.
appreciate
You're
it,
welcome.
man. And
Hang
I
on
also
in
just
there.
wanted to pass along a message over from my fiance. She said, I really love his voice and I love his beard. He sounds just like Trace Adkins.
I love the accent.
Bless her heart. Tell her thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Zach. You have a great night, bud.
All right, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night.
That's great. Yeah, and I am an old West Texas boy. I'm from West Texas, so yeah, I know all the area he's talking about real well.
Another call trying to come in, and it's doing this weird thing on me. Like it won't take it on the right phone, so let me decline it. And
we'll keep trying.
And then see if I can call them back. There we go. I think that was it. Let me try to call them. See, they're trying to call me, but it's not picking it up on the right phone. Yeah, I got to get this figured out. Sorry, John. Give me 1 second. Let's see if I can call them back.
Not a problem.
But yeah, I love that accent. I was telling Jamie before the show, he's got to be from Texas. I knew I heard he's from Florida, but I'm like, it's got to be from Texas because I just love that accent. It's like, what's his name? Sam Elliott. Kind of reminds me a little bit too.
Great. Bless your heart.
I love Sam Elliott.
I grew up in West Texas, and my wife tells me, she said, the tireder you get or the more you're around Texas people, the more the accent comes through.
All right. Well, we got another call here. It says 860 area code. Hopefully I didn't call the same person back. Who do we got on the line?
Hi, Jason. This is Ariana. How are you tonight?
Hey,
everybody. How is everybody tonight?
Doing good. Thank you for calling in.
Okay. I wanted a little mini reading, if possible. I wanted to know I'm kind of at the crossroads, and I want to know which way I'm kind of leaning to, or how long it would be till I lean to.
A lot of crossroads tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, what I'm told for you is go back. So in other words, now is not the time to make a big leap forward or to make a big change in your life, something that's really disruptive or really upsetting or really challenging. Now's not the time for that. And it may literally mean go back to like a former place in time, a former place of residence, or a former job situation or something that you really enjoyed but you left, and maybe you need to go back to that. Maybe that's what your life needs right now. But this is definitely not the time to make a big leap, a big jump, and say, oh, well, I'll have faith and this will work out or whatever. This is just not the time for that. Make sense for you?
Yeah, it actually does. It actually does.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, good deal. Good deal. Thank you for
you
calling
very
in, and
much.
good luck to you. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you, Zuriana.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
You know, like I said, people, these are short readings, and you do, you know, if people wanted to get like a long reading from you, how do they connect with you?
They go to my website, johnrussell.net, 2 S's, 2 L's, and Russell, johnrussell.net, and there it's got my client testimonials, my credentials, the links to click on to get a reading. I do a half-hour reading for $125, and all the information they need, the complete directions are there, and they can then schedule a longer reading, and then we can get, you know, more into the in-depth nitty-gritty of things. Like I say, right now we're putting a Band-Aid on things. We're in the high spots, but it's enough information to point you in the right direction, get you going in the right direction. But then if they want the in-depth reading, then they can go to my website and get all the information there.
When you give somebody a reading, I mean, here you're touching on, like, very much like when I read the tarot, it always seemed to, you know, touch on these factors of where they're at in life, you know, options they have, like, you know.
Right.
But when you do, like, for reading, do you also, like, get, like, kind of the mediumistic readings, like, where you have people's loved ones?
You know, it depends it depends on what the person needs. The other side gives everybody what they need.
Right.
And a lot of times there's a lot of people that come through from the other side. Sometimes there's no one comes through from the other side. So it's basically what the person needs in their life to move forward and advance in a good way. You know, like for these couple of people, I didn't have anybody from the other side standing there say, "Oh, tell them this, tell them that."
Yeah.
So and so's here. You know, but in a longer reading, that might happen.
Right.
But again, everybody's going to get what they need.
Makes sense. I mean, I see a spirit would try to, like, I only have 2 minutes to get information through. Yeah, I'll wait.
Yeah. And sometimes they can get that information through in a couple of minutes, but you know, it depends on the priority that the other side is assigning. You know, when people call, it's like, okay, I know this person, I know what they need. Let's give them this in this short amount of time and give them the most help possible.
Now, you know, we've talked about ghosts tonight, and you know, guardians or guardian angels. What is
right.
Do you believe in? I mean, I don't know. You haven't really talked tonight, like what your religious beliefs are. Or it sounds like you're more like me, probably a bit like spiritualist, but agnostic, questioning.
Right.
But you know, what are angels? I mean, to you.
Well, to me, I think guardian angels are like these angelic beings. I don't think you have to have any specific religious belief to believe in that. And maybe guardian angel is the wrong terminology, but it's something that we're familiar with and we're comfortable with. And it seems to describe what these beings do. You know, they watch over us, they protect us, they guide us. And one of the interesting things, there's some belief in the paranormal community. I don't think it's real widespread, but there's some belief out there in the paranormal community that angels don't physically intervene, they just guide or influence us through intuition or whatever. But I have plenty of evidence in my life that guardian angels literally do physically intervene and help us and save us. So that's something I absolutely believe in.
I think there's a lot of instances. I mean, I've heard countless stories of people have, you know, being miraculously saved by somebody showing up and then they're gone. You know, they could say that's a dead spirit. I mean, but to physically manifest,
or pull from a burning car and then there's nobody there. You know, that type of thing. Absolutely.
I was a big Quantum Leap fan. I've been rewatching that lately. But the way that show ended, they kind of like hinted at the fact of like these angels like quantum leaping in, and then they would help somebody, and then when they left, like people would forget they were there. And I was like, it's like touching upon something. Oh, there goes the weird phone thing again. Hold on a second. Let's see if I can get this person's number to come up on the other phone line. But I was just recently thinking about that, like, you know, how it works with these instances where people are miraculously saved like that.
Right.
If that is a non-human entity, or you know, or a dimensional entity, or is that a someone from their life, you know, a spirit?
Well, I think it can be a lot of different things. I think people from the other side that have been our loved ones, I think they can come to help us, protect us, and I think there is a class of non-human entity that we call guardian angels or whatever, that they come to help us and take care of us and guide us. And there's a lot of things out there I think we just don't understand. We just don't know all the terminology for yet. It's just we're learning.
Yeah, it's that's why I do the shows. Everybody, all of us, adding our experiences together and talking about it openly, gets us closer to that answer. I always on the UFO subject. We got the UFO disclosure on June 25th supposed to be happening. I'm like, supposedly. I'm like, the real disclosure is us being not afraid anymore to talk about it and talking about what we've witnessed and experienced. And that goes for the paranormal and ghosts and spirits and spirituality, not to be afraid to talk about these things. All right, we got somebody else on the line. 601 area code. Who do we got? 601 area code. You there? Say something if you're there. I'm not hearing you, though. It says we got him on the line. You there? I hear like a click.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything either. So
it's weird. It shows they're on. It shows they're there. Maybe they muted and stepped away.
Maybe it's somebody from the other side. That does happen.
Well, hello, you're on. Who is this? Who do we got?
It's Turquoise Diva. Can you hear me?
Oh, Turquoise Diva?
Yes.
Yeah, you're a bit tinny, like you're in a bathroom or something, but I hear you.
Oh, God. Okay, I'm sorry. I hope everybody had a nice Father's Day. Oh,
I did. I'm a bit sore. Like I said, my Father's Day was remodeling the kitchen, but it was good. It was good. I wanted it done.
That's great. Y'all had one real quick question, if he wouldn't mind just seeing what he thinks.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Hi, John. I've been in a very long-term marriage, and unfortunately it's coming to an end now, and I just wanted to know if you think I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life.
Ooh.
No, you won't be alone for the rest of your life, but you need to give yourself a little time here just to kind of look back and evaluate what has brought you to where you're at now. And I'm not saying, accept blame or, this is my fault or this was his fault or whatever. I'm not saying assign fault or find any negativity there. I'm just saying look back and look at the places in your life where you knew you made choices that weren't the best for yourself and where you accepted situations that you knew were negative, but you stayed in them. And maybe you were too supportive, maybe you were too optimistic, maybe too positive. And so realizing that you don't want to carry those same liabilities into a future relationship. So you need to look at yourself and examine yourself and see where you're too supportive, too accepting, too optimistic, too positive, and correct those things before you get into the next relationship. And as you approach the next relationship, which will be probably around the holidays this year, look at any red flags that crop up before you get into a relationship with anyone and recognize that those cannot be changed, that it's not some cosmic learning experience you have to go through again, because that's not the case. It would just be another train wreck, another mistake. Those are things to avoid. So learn those things about yourself. And like I say, don't be so optimistic. Don't be so willing to accommodate. Figure out what you need and make sure that somebody meets you halfway there, as well as what you're putting into the relationship. Does that make sense for you?
Yeah, that helped a lot, because I'm just really afraid. I haven't been alone since I was 19. And it's just really difficult right now. But
well, it'll get better. But like I say, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Turquoise. You have a great night. Yeah, it's a lot of crossroads tonight. A lot of people calling in like at a crossroads in their life.
Yeah, that seems to be the theme. It really does. It really does. And I want to tell people that, that are afraid of being alone, don't be afraid of being alone. The worst thing than being alone is to be with the wrong person.
Right? Oh, some people really could learn a lot if they could realize that.
And that just really can demolish your life, can just really tear you up bad. And so, we are social creatures, and we need companionship, we need to love, we need to be loved, and I understand that. But don't be desperate, don't be afraid to be alone, don't be desperate to get into a relationship, because the wrong relationship is way worse than being alone. And you have to learn to be patient, and you have to learn to recognize the signs of what you really need in a relationship for you to be happy, as well as what you can bring to someone to make them happy in the relationship. And that takes some time and work and effort.
I feel like I got lucky. In my life, when I was in my early 20s, I felt like I'm done with this. I'm going to be a Buddhist monk. I don't want to have any relationships. Then my wife popped up into my life, and first date knew I'm marrying this woman. Like went from never getting married, never having children, the first date, I'm like, I'll marry you. I'm totally going to marry you.
There you go. You go.
But, like I said, I was totally comfortable with myself, alone.
Yeah.
And
I think people have to get that way. I think you have to have some comfort with yourself and not be afraid to be alone, not be afraid to be alone with yourself, to develop that strength and have that ability. And then when the right one does come along, it just intensifies everything and magnifies all the good things that much more. But, if you identify yourself by who you're with, then you don't have any identity. You don't have any self-identity.
Oh my God, I've seen that so many examples of that in life with people in relationships. That's why I'm lucky. We're going to be 18 years married. I have a great wife, great marriage, and I'm so lucky because I'm sure everybody's seen so many marriages, and I'm not saying we're perfect, but I feel so lucky to have the relationship I do, and the marriage I do after seeing what people have gone through in their lives. It's like somehow I lucked out on just discovering some simple facts about life when it comes to relationships and like that, is that you cannot put expectations of this person's going to fulfill that hole in your life. They're going to fulfill that hole in your personality. That's not how it works. And I see so many people making that mistake all the time in relationships. And that's why they fail. Because it's never going to happen. And then you get resentful towards the other person for why aren't you fulfilling that hole myself?
I know, exactly right. Yeah,
that's where it goes bad.
Yep.
When people do start doing stupid things and cheating on each other and all that stuff, I just don't get it. I like a simple life. I don't like drama.
There you go.
Some people, they cry and moan about.
They thrive on drama,
but they really thrive
on drama.
I don't understand that type of person.
I think we've watched too many movies as kids, and we think it's supposed to be that way.
I know, right?
I mean, if you look back, I tell my clients, I say, if you think back to your childhood, we're exposed to true romance and true love as some type of Disney movie where there's always some drama, there's always some melodramatic thing going on, and the guy loves the girl and he loses the girl and has to fight for the girl, and they're
every rom-com
enmity with each other, and it's like, come on, that's not the way it's supposed to be. It may make for good television, but it doesn't make for good real life.
It's not just television, it's tons of movies. I don't know how many movies I've been suffered through. Sorry, buddy. This is my wife's like, you're lucky we're married 17 years. But how many rom-coms I've suffered through with my wife, it's like the same scenario. The guy gets girl, or girl gets guy, whatever. So-and-so gets so-and-so, then loses so-and-so because they did something stupid, and then they got to do this whole thing to make it up. And it's the same scenario. Like, you could have just not done the stupid thing.
There's always some ridiculous misunderstanding.
Right.
That in real life, if you could just sit down and say, what happened here, or who was that, or what occurred here, and get the explanation for it. Oh, okay, and then you go on like normal human beings. But in the movies, it doesn't work that way, and I think people tend to, internalize what we see as reality, and it's not. And it's like I've read. I can't tell you how many stories I have read in magazines and news articles, and even on TV over the years, where some star from a soap opera, for example, would be walking down the street or be in a restaurant or be in a grocery store or whatever, and a fan would recognize them and come up and go, how could you turn your brother out into the cold like that? And they're like, whoa. It's a TV show. I don't even have a brother. It's a fictional TV show, But the people believed that what was happening was reality. And it's like, oh, my God.
That's what's scary about humans in society, that people can really believe anything they see on TV. I don't know why. They shouldn't even believe the news, let alone that.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Oh, God. That's the generation we're living in. Now, like, I don't know. We haven't even gotten into this tonight. I don't know if you have any stories on this. I bet you do. I bet you do, because I feel like a connection with you. Like, we've not that we're the same, but we've had a lot of paranormal life. I'm sure you've had some UFO experiences.
Oh Lord, yes. Oh my God.
It just seems to be common people in our area of life that we just have them. That there's that's why I call this show Paranormal Soup, because it's all a soup bowl of weird experiences.
Right.
Because we got the UFO disclosure coming here, and it's your guys' stories and our experiences. Like I said, I think really make the disclosure, not the government.
Yeah. And I think that, and if we have a little time here, the story's a little long. If we have a little time, I'll tell you when I was, by the time I was 20, I had like 9 jillion, gross exaggeration, obviously, but I'm trying to get the point across. I did like 9 jillion paranormal experiences, manifestations already.
Yeah.
And in spite of knowing the reality of the paranormal, I did not believe in UFOs. I had read the books, I had read the magazines, I had read the stories, I had seen the testimonials on TV, and it was like, nope, ain't buying it, don't believe it, doesn't ring a bell with me, not believing in UFOs. So one day, and the reason I extrapolate the story and give the backstory behind it is because somehow it all seems tied in and relevant. I was at this place, and I didn't have a bike then, I had this car. This Oldsmobile Vista Cruiser station wagon. God, I love that beast. Mm-hmm. And I had parked it in a parking lot going into this building. It was visible. It was a little narrow 2-lane street, and I could see my car in the parking lot when I stepped out the door. It was just a short ways across the street to go to the parking lot. So I stepped out of this building. Now, this is back in West Texas, where I grew up, and I stepped out of this building, and this blast of wind hits me in the face. And I'm like, oh, we must be in for one of our infamous thunderstorms, maybe even a tornado or whatever, because we were at the tip end of Tornado Alley. And I looked up at the sky, and it's all overcast and black clouds and rolling and boiling and all of that. And so I look over where my car is, and like I say, I've just got to go across a narrow 2-lane street and into the parking lot to get my car. And where my car is, there's this columnar cloud, this is shaped like a column, coming down from the clouds above and still attached to the clouds above, all the way down into the parking lot and resting on the parking lot right by my car.
Oh, wow.
And I'm looking at this thing, and I'm like, okay, I've seen a lot of tornado activity and a lot of weird weather in West Texas. So I'm looking at this thing, and as I'm watching it, all of these glowing globules of light coming out of the cloud, but not entirely out of it, just up to the surface of it, bulging out a little bit, and then receding back into it, and the colors are red and green and orange and purple and all of this. And I'm like, okay, I've lost my mind. I'm 20-some-odd years old, and I have lost it. This is it. I've gone crazy. And I'm standing there watching this thing, and another weird thing I notice is that there's some debris in the parking lot, and it should have been blowing all around the base of the cloud, and all the debris is perfectly still.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, okay, this is really crazy. So I think I've lost it. I very seriously think I've lost it, that I'm hallucinating, that I've had a stroke or whatever. And I get this bizarre an inclination to walk toward the cloud. So I do, and as I do, it advances toward me in the parking lot, still remaining down on the ground. And I stop, and it stops, and I walk backward, and it backs up. And I walk forward again, it moves toward me, and I stop, and it stops, I back up, and it backs up. I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm gone. I'm going to check into the hospital. And about this time, I'm standing back by the door I came out of. The door opens, whacks me in the back. This friend of mine comes out, and he's like, oh, man, I'm sorry. He said, what are you doing standing so close to the door? And without waiting for me to answer, he looks up and he goes, oh, wow, looks like we're in for a storm. And then he looks across to the parking lot, and he goes, what in the world is that? I'm like, okay, I'm not nuts, because he sees it. So I said, watch this. And I walk toward the cloud. It comes toward me. I stop, it stops, I back up, and it backs up. And I said, isn't that the weirdest thing you've ever seen? And he looks at me like I'm the weirdest thing he's ever seen. He says, bye. And he runs the other way. His car is parked the other way, so he goes. So now I'm back alone again with the weird cloud. Yeah, I'm back alone again with the weird cloud. So I'm standing there trying to figure out what in the world to do, and this thing all of a sudden goes back up into the clouds above, and they start to pass over. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. So I run to my car, I get in my car, and I start going home. And now, this is not one of those everything's bigger in Texas stories, but I mean in Texas, it can really rain. I mean, like in half an hour's time, it can flood yards, flood streets, flood underpasses. And in spite of that, as I'm driving out, and I know this town like the back of my hand, so I know where I'm at. And as I'm driving, the rain begins to come down so hard that I can only see about a foot or two beyond the hood of my car. And that's with the wipers on high and with my headlights on. And I have never experienced rain that hard in my life ever. And I said, man, this is weird. This is something strange. So the rain continues to be that hard, and there's cars angle parked on the street in the parking spaces, angle parked, and I'm trying to see them so I don't sideswipe them, and I can't see over there. And we get up to a stoplight, and you can see the stoplight glow because it's real bright through the rain, even as hard as it's falling. And I come right up on the bumper of this car in front of me and nearly hit it before I see it. That's how hard the rain's coming down. And the person behind me nearly hits me, and I'm like, my God, this is insane. Somehow I've got to get out of this. I'm going to hit somebody. Somebody's going to hit me. And the wipers are on high, not doing a bit of good. And so the light changes, and we start to turn, and I realize we're on Tuig Street. Now, there was a Sears store on Beauregard, and the back parking lot of that was on Tuig, the block over, and they had this big parking lot in the back. And so my plan was to creep along till I could see the opening of that parking lot, go in there and just park however I could, jump out of the car, run in the store, and they had the best sporting goods in the world down in the basement. And I said, okay, I'll just stay there, wait the storm out. And so I'm creeping around the corner and trying to stay close enough to the bumper in front of me that I can see it but not hit it. I'm trying to watch for the angle park cars, and I can't see them. And I'm like, man, this is just getting more insane by the second. And as I'm leaning over in my seat. This is an old bench seat, right? Yeah. And I'm holding onto the wheel, leaning over in the seat, trying to look out the passenger window so I can see the parked cars, the tail end of the cars that are out there, so I don't hit them. And as I'm leaned over like that, now you got to understand this, Jason. This is just so bizarre. The rain doesn't slow down. The rain doesn't taper off. It's like 1 second the rain's coming down that hard and count it off. 1001. 1 second later, there's not a bit of rain in the sky.
Like the switch
There's
just
no
turned
moisture at all. There's no mist hitting the windshield. There's absolutely nothing. Total visibility is returned in front of me. Total visibility is returned behind me. Now, it's still overcast, but it's like 4 in the afternoon, something like that, so it's still plenty light, even with the overcast. And I've got full visibility as far as I can see. And I reach up, turn the wipers off because there's not even a mist hitting the windshield. And I'm like, well, this is the strangest thing I've ever seen. And I'm just a little ways from the parking lot into the Sears parking lot, just a little ways from the entrance. So as I'm sitting there, we don't move. All of a sudden, there's all these people in the oncoming lane coming our way, and they're starting to swerve over into our lane. And people are honking, and cars are nearly hitting cars, and people are all of a sudden rolling down their windows and pointing up at the sky, and people are jumping out of their cars in the middle of the street and looking up and pointing up. And I'm like, well, what in God's name? And then it dawns on me, the weird weather pattern and the reason it stopped all of a sudden. There's an F5 tornado, and they've seen it, and it's fixing to come down and kill us all, and I'm too damn young to die. So that's what I'm thinking. And so I look where everybody's pointing, and you can see the rear of the Sears building from where we're at. And up over the Sears building, about 30 feet maybe over the top of the building, is this shiny metallic silver disc about 30 to 50 feet in diameter, sitting there just hovering over the rear of the Sears building, and that's what everybody has been pointing at, jumping out of their cars and da-da-da-da-da. And I literally, Jason, no exaggeration, did a cartoon eye rub. I rubbed my eyes, and I'm like, no. And I look back up, and sure enough, it's there. And I'm like, oh, my God, I have to change denominations now because they are real. Here it is. So I look at this thing, and I start to get out of my car because I want an even better view like everybody's jumping out and getting. So I reach for my door handle, and the UFO just barely perceptibly moves forward toward us. And about that time, the clouds from behind it come over and cover it over, and instantly the rain is back as hard as it was before.
Ooh.
So I creep forward, and I said, okay, this guy in front of me turns into the Sears parking lot. And I said, I don't care if I hit this guy. My insurance will cover it. His insurance will cover it. I'm finding this guy, and I'm asking him what he saw because I still don't believe it, even though all these witnesses were there, saw it before I did. I said, no. So the guy parks. I see his dome light come on, and we jump out. I jump out to run after him, and I was young and fleet of foot, and so I'm running past. And, man, the rain is hitting. It hurts. It absolutely hurts. It's pelting so hard, and I'm shielding my eyes, and I'm running after this guy. So in the Sears building, then they had this entryway, kind of an airlock, and you came in there, and the entrance to the basement went down, and then there were more doors that led into the store proper. So the guy's standing there in the entryway, and he's just staring down, just standing there dripping water. And of course, we both looked like we'd just gotten out of the shower, right? And I remember he wore glasses. He hadn't even wiped the water off his glasses. And I walked around in front of him, and he's just standing there, just staring down at the rug, the mat you wipe your feet on when you come in. And he didn't even recognize I'm there for a little bit. And then he finally looks up, and I said, "Excuse me, but did you see what I just saw?" And he looked at me for a little bit, and he said, "Yeah, but I damn sure ain't going to tell nobody." And he sidestepped me and walked through the store. And so I at least had that confirmation, even though I had seen these witnesses see this thing before I did. And the reason for his comment was that was back, like in around the 60s, early 70s, back in West Texas. You just didn't talk about that.
Right.
You were nuts. You were touching the head. You had hallucinations. You were an alcoholic or whatever. So he was like, "Yeah, but I damn sure ain't going to tell nobody." And he went on. So that was my first experience with UFOs, and I've had several since then. Including one here in Florida where we're living now that was just super, super dramatic. But I write about those experiences in Writing with Ghost Angels and the Spirits of the Dead. Those experiences are in that book.
As you're talking about this storm and all that, the storm's raging on right now. My lights are flickering. So hopefully we make it past the next commercial break and the end of the show.
Hopefully so, yeah.
Yeah, wow, it is storm bad. We do have somebody waiting on the line. We got about 6 minutes before commercial break, so let's see if we can take their call. 661. Yep, 661 area code. Who do we got?
Hey, this is Josh Turner.
Hey, Josh. Thanks for calling in, man.
Yeah, hey. So, Jason, me and you talked before. I have a show that I do.
Yeah.
Paranormal Roundtable. Listening to your show. I like your show. And I think that you are very underrated. I think you need to be, on a bigger stage.
That'd be great.
But I would like to ask your guest a question.
Yeah.
I'm from Texas. I live in Austin, and I'll keep it short. I have a couple of weird stories that I've gotten out of West Texas over the years. Actually, several, but one in particular involving some sort of gelatinous, like blob type stuff that rained down on somebody's vehicle right outside of San Antonio.
Oh.
And this person did not know what it was. It was a Halloween show that I did in 2020, and right after that, when I talked about blobs, then somebody had sent me that story, and it came in, and I don't really have a lot more, to add to make a show about it, so it would have to be like a one-off. But I was just wondering what you thought about that, because that's something that happened out in West Texas, and then I also had a question about the weather that's been happening lately. Now, first we get frozen out down here, which was highly unusual. And then after that, we get nothing but storms for like 2 months straight. It's been nothing but storms. April, May was just flooding and raining and raining and raining. And if it wasn't every day, it was every other day. And now we're getting hit with this like heat wave across the country. And I wanted to know what you thought. What are your thoughts on this?
We got about 5 minutes till commercial break, so that's about as much John will get in.
All right, good. Well, I appreciate your call, and I appreciate your questions. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I remember the blob stories. I've heard some of the blob stories before, and I believe a lot of that's paranormal in origin. But let me tell you what I think is going on with the weather. And I talk about weather as a sentient being in my book, Writing with Ghost Angels and Spirits of the Dead. I believe that storms, there are cultures that have this belief, and I've come to kind of accept this. There are cultures that believe that the storms themselves are sentient, that they're knowledgeable, that they're self-aware, that they have purpose, that they have meaning. And if that's not true, at the very least, then they are controlled or directed by sentient beings. And there seems to be very, very strong evidence for that. And I write about that in my book. There's some incidents that you just can't attribute it to anything else but intelligent control, either from within the storm itself or from something guiding the storm. So I think that's a lot of what's happening here in these experiences, is that there are intelligences that are directing these storms. And the reason that we have some of these bizarre weather outbreaks, I believe, is that we have absolutely lost our connection with nature. We just wholesale cut forest willy-nilly. We burn and slash willy-nilly. Everything is technological now. Everything is impersonal. Everything is cold. We've lost the concept of nature and what nature is, possible nature spirits, the guidance from nature, the fact that Earth itself may be somewhat sentient somehow. We've lost all that. We've lost all that connection. Everything is externalized now to something that somebody makes or manufactures, and that's our entire life, and we've absolutely lost all of our connection with nature. And I think that nature is telling us, hey, this is costing you. And if you want to get away from these things, if you want to get back to that, reestablish that connection with us. And I'll tell you, how much time do we have before we go to break?
A couple minutes, and I just got a tornado warning for my area. So it's getting real bad here.
Hunker down and stay safe.
Yeah, and people hear that in the background, yeah.
So one of the things that, and I'll try and get this through in a couple of minutes before we go to break, one of the things that people can do is to make offerings to these spirits and to nature spirits, to Mother Earth, and to the spirits in the weather. And you can say it sounds as crazy as you want to, but one of the things that the spirits really, really, really seem to be tremendously fond of and really respond to is gin. So buy you some gin, make you an offering with gin, talk to these nature spirits, yeah. And there was a guy that we're going to get close to break here. I'll continue this when we come back, but there's a really dramatic example I saw of a guy that made an offering to Pele, to the goddess of the volcanoes, and it was documented, it was filmed, and that's something that we need to talk about. But I believe that's what's happening with a lot of this weather, is we've just lost so much connection with nature, and nature's letting us know about it.
Well, I hope I had gin right now. I hope people make prayers to the nature spirits for this storm right now, because I just got a tornado warning. So I'm going to go to commercial break and gather my family and find out what's going on here. Hopefully we will be back. Hopefully we'll be back. This is the first time I got a tornado warning during a live show. So that's just
Stay
great.
safe.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll be back after this short commercial break, or if we're not, it's because I had to shut things down. I'll give you a call, John, if that happens. But just hang in there, John, and we'll see what goes on here in the next 5 minutes. Hopefully,
all right, be safe.
Yeah, hopefully the nature spirits here cooperate and then take the storm. Go away, storm. But we're going to go to break. We'll be right back, hopefully, after the short commercial break. All right, sorry. Usually be an intro music of me coming back. I am here. Sorry for the slight delay, but I had to gather my family. We're trying to check the weather. I got both my boys down here with me right now and my wife. We're here still. Let me get John. You still there, John?
I'm here.
Pray to the nature spirits so we can continue the show.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Sorry about the silence. I think I didn't even hit the commercial break. I don't know if a commercial ever ran or not. I just ran up and got my family.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
So sorry about that. It's weird, but we're back for the moment. I might have to shut down. We'll see. I don't know. Honey, what's the weather status? What's it say? I don't know. Oh, I was gonna have you check and see what this. It said tornado touchdown on my phone.
It says tornado warning.
Tornado warning. Okay. We'll hang in there. So, John, if you hear two little munchkins in the background, those are my two boys. So
that's all right. That's all right.
Okay, you be quiet. Okay, love you though. All right, so we were talking about, one of the things I didn't get to talk to you about tonight, I hope we can get into conversations. I'm really interested in the manifestation parts, the physical manifestations that seem to happen around you. Can you talk a little bit more about some of the experiences you've had with that, like physical spirit manifestations in front of other people? And, because I really do think some people feel this, or they're able to give the spirits this ability to do this.
Right. Yeah, like I said, the one manifestation with the person walking through me, we caught on film. We caught some other manifestations on film. There have been things like the ghost photos, the EVP I've gotten, things like that. UFOs, other people have seen UFOs with me. All types of physical manifestations have occurred. And things appear, things disappear, all these types of occurrences. And what I want people to understand is that, the psychic realm, the paranormal realm is real. The spiritual realm is real. It can manifest and does manifest on the physical plane to give us that evidence. And then it's up to us to take that and to say, okay, who's there? Why are they there? What can I learn from this? How can I make my life better from that? How can I help other people with that? And it's an important thing. And I think that one of the frustrating things about it is even when you have evidence of physical manifestation, there are still people that will find every way in the world possible not to believe, to discount it. And I remember we had these friends of ours, and he knew I was a psychic, and he always made fun of him because he was a disbeliever, right?
Right.
So he would, and I didn't mind. I didn't care. It didn't hurt my feelings. And so I told him one time, I said, in my experience, every single person on this planet, if they are totally, completely honest, the big if they are totally, completely honest, they've had at least one experience in their lives that they can't rationally explain by normal means. And he's like, nope, not me. I was like, okay, whatever. So one night, my wife went over to visit him and his wife. She had been friends with his wife forever and a day. And I was ill, so I stayed home. And, man, I would have given my teeth to have been there, Jason. That night, they get to talking about the paranormal and things, and he goes, well, yeah, he said, I see things. He said, sometimes I see doors open and close by themselves, or I'm shaving and somebody appears in the hallway behind me, and I turn around and they disappear. But I just count that up to my imagination. And I was like, dude, you're telling me you don't have any of these things, and that you've got this plethora of physical manifestations you're experiencing, and you chalk them up to your imagination. What are you? Oh, my God. So I would have given my teeth to been there. I could have said, aha,
Yeah.
But it amazes me that the number of people that can actually experience physical manifestations and just write them off.
I think people do that all the time. I honestly think people do that all the time. But they don't notice. They don't make the connections a lot of times. They just write it off.
They either don't make the connection, or they don't want to acknowledge it to other people. They don't want to be made fun of or whatever. You know what I mean? Look, it's just with what's come out in the New York Times 2 to 3 years ago and up to now, and with the government disclosure things that we've had so far. Just now we're getting out of the tinfoil hat genre with UFOs into mainstream media and respectability,
Oh,
I mean, it's taken all these many years for 60 Minutes to sit down with Lou Elizondo and give a credible, respectful interview to the subject, and it's taken all this time. So we're just now catching up. So hopefully more people will be willing to acknowledge what they're having, and we can acknowledge the reality of the spiritual realm and make things better with that. Because look, we're not going to do it through science. Science is failing us, And we're not going to do it through other means. We're going to have those spiritual resources to make things better.
That one thing I love, I'm very critical of the UFO disclosure thing for the government, and I have very low expectations for the report that comes out. But
I do too. Yeah, I think it's going to be a big nothing.
Yeah, but what I do love about it, it has opened up the conversation, and
it has. Like I say, it's brought it into the mainstream
right.
finally. And people have to respect it because look. The former director of national intelligence said, "Yeah, these things are real. We
John
don't know
Radcliffe,
what they are.
yeah.
We pick them up on satellites. We pick them up on our other sensors. We have multiple pilots have seen them. They are physical. They are real. They are here. So we have that. We have Lou Elizondo. We have all these other people from Congress and the military that have come forward and say, yeah, they're real. They're here. We don't know what they are. And then, of course, you have this plethora of people that, well, I know exactly who they are and what they are and why they're here. No, you don't.
No, you don't.
I don't. No,
I don't.
You don't. I don't. I have no clue. And that was the bandwagon I refused to jump on when I saw my first one. I says, okay, here it is. It's real. I got to change denominations, but I don't know who it is. I don't know what their intent is. I don't know what their purpose is. And we still don't. We still don't have anything on which to hang our hats. And one of the things that disturbs me about the whole UFO phenomenon, I was listening to Rob Shelsky, who's a MUFON field investigator, and he was on somebody's podcast the other day that I'm on regularly, and I was listening to him, and he made this excellent point. And we have all these reports of abductions. We have all these reports of cattle mutilations that may be tied to UFOs. We have all these other horrendous things that are not good experiences with UFOs.
Yeah, usually you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah, usually you're going to have a bad time. And what Shelsky said was, where is the story where I was lost in the woods, I was cold, freezing, it was nightfall, I didn't know if I was going to survive, and a UFO came over, shone a light down, and guided me out of the forest with the beam to safety. We don't have those stories, which is true. We don't have those stories. Instead, we have stories of abduction, possible cattle mutilations.
People that disappear.
People that disappear forever and a day. Assaults on military craft, both ships, planes, everything else. So, the UFO experience does not seem to be a good one or a favorable one at this point. And you go looking for the positive stories, and they're really, really hard to find and mostly non-evidential, where there seems to be a lot of evidence, the other way around. So it's going to be interesting as we progress.
I mean, I've had guests on here that have had like the positive ET experience where they've been taken on a ship and shown things taken with their, they gave their free will to go. And I get that. But more often than not, I have the stories of I was taken against my will, and things were done to me.
Exactly.
And
if there's any truth to the people that were taken with their permission and shown things, what good has it done?
Right.
My contention is if you've got a race that advanced, that superior, they had to have kicked cancer's ass a long time ago. So how about throwing us a bone? How about let's get the kids out of St. Jude Children's Hospital? Some alien comes down, meet me in the woods here, take this, go and compound this and give it to the kids. They're all going to be healed.
Well, they did that in the series V. Like the aliens come down and like cure cancer for everybody. They didn't have a good time though. I don't know if we'd want that.
They didn't have a good time. Yeah.
They started eating gerbils. Run.
Yeah, they did the good thing to suck us in that series, and then here you go. So we have a long way to go. And I mean, if they landed on the White House lawn tomorrow, and everybody says, "Why the White House lawn?" Well, we're Americans speaking as Americans. That's our seat of authority. If we were in Russia, they'd be standing. If they land at the Kremlin, but
I hope they never land on the White House lawn.
Yeah, I know.
No.
But if that's the disclosure, if that's the revelation, and everybody has to acknowledge, okay, here it is, it's real, it makes the national news, all that, we still have a giant learning curve. Who are they? Can we trust them? Do they mean what they say? Why are they here? You meet somebody somewhere, you don't just automatically take them at face value. You take time to learn to evaluate them. Are they real? Are they honest? Are they trustworthy? We'd have to do the same there. And so there's still this giant learning curve there, regardless of what happens. And then the other thing that has to happen is there's still the spiritual component to it.
Right.
We have to acknowledge somebody made them, so that there still has to be that spiritual intersection there. We don't get away from the spiritual aspect of things.
Well, I know abductees have seen their dead relatives on the ship. You know, like I don't know if that's a mere, them messing with their mind, but there has been some death, connection to the spiritual world with aliens.
Yeah. And so that's something that we just don't know. We have anecdotal evidence. Some of it seems reliable, but we just don't know. We don't know enough yet. We don't have enough yet. And whatever this is doesn't seem to be too willing to cooperate with us in finding that out. But then again, you look at the other side. The other side kind of plays peekaboo with us, even with the psychic and the paranormal experiences. We sometimes get everything we want. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes you can go on an investigation and everything in the world happens. Another time you go, you're prepared. You've got all the gear. Everything's right. Everything feels good, and not a blooming thing happens.
It's like fishing.
So
you might be sitting there all night without catching a fish.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And so we have to think, okay, for all that we've learned, for all that we've done, we're still just so far afield in understanding everything about this. And I think one of the things that hampers us is that people get off on tangents. People imagine they've channeled something or imagine they've received something or egos, and it's not real, it's not valuable, it doesn't work, it doesn't translate into the real world. And people have to acknowledge that this has to work in the real world. People can argue we're a simulation, people can argue we're a game, people can argue we're created by aliens. Fine, we live in the real world.
Doesn't change. I have to get up and go to work tomorrow, or
you
something
have to
like
get
that.
Up and go to work, you have to eat, you have to pay your bills, got to put gas in the car. Whatever spiritual thing is out there, and that's what bugs me about these channelers. They receive the same goofball nonsense for forever and decades, and none of it translates into anything workable. It's just all this spiritual gobbledygook that's basically nonsense that you can't make sense out of, and you're told that that's because they're so evolved, they're trying to teach you and get you to, well, baloney, give me something to pay my bills next month, or my kid said, help me heal my kid, or, whatever. Don't be telling me about, 13 lifetimes from now and 42 other dimensions, you'll finally understand something. Well, that don't help me put food on the table
right?
today,
Yeah, no, exactly. No, that's what I've always, but back to the whole alien disclosure and what's going on with that, I can't, there's the whole, like I mentioned earlier in the beginning of the show that I made a comment about Luis Elizondo on a YouTube channel. Somebody did an interview, and I thought, I respect him. I think he's a patriot for going to get out there, and I got all this backlash from people like in the UFO community, like totally like, don't trust him, and he's a government shill, and all this stuff.
Disinformation agent,
disinformation agent. I'm like, I think he's an honest person trying to get out there. I definitely think there's red flags to the stuff we're seeing. I don't trust the government. Doesn't mean he's just, you could be a pawn.
Doesn't mean he's a disinformation agent, right?
I think he's just trying to do what he thinks is best to try to get this information out there.
I think so. And if you'll notice, there's not only him, but there's several other people that have said basically it's aliens, but without saying it's aliens.
Yeah.
And it's non-human intelligence. We don't have anything like this on this world. We don't have these capabilities in our military or our science, and they're trying every possible way to say, hey, it's out there, it's not here. And people don't seem to be glomming onto that.
No, they're too concerned with what the Kardashians are doing lately.
Exactly.
That's our priorities. Are like, imagine 20 years ago, 60 Minutes having a special on this.
Oh my God!
It would have blown people's mind. Nowadays, people are like, "Huh? What? What's Kim Kardashian's
they're
next
not even paying attention. Who's on what TV show doing what? And I said, when all this first started coming out, I made a post on Facebook. And I said the Pentagon has acknowledged that they have anomalous UFO debris in their possession that they're studying, and you're worried about, what am I going to do for the Memorial Day barbecue? And it's like, you should be saying, what? It's like, my God, we're announcing some of the most momentous things in history here, and people are tuning in to see what Snooki's going to do or whatever. It's like, come on.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, we could be talking about the biggest news story in the world, and it's kind of still, it is different, though. We are seeing a more, getting to see the mainstream media people talk about this.
Right.
Getting to see
more of them involved, which is good, and they're treating it in a serious
But it's
manner.
also hilarious because watching these people talk about something they're so out of their depth on, knowledge-wise, like the history of it, even like the history of it, especially.
That's like the Fox reporter that interviewed the director of former director of national intelligence. And as he was saying all this stuff, she was looking at him kind of with her eyes bugged out.
Yeah, like didn't expect it.
Is this April Fool's? Are you serious? Are you for real? And it's like, these people seem to be like talking heads that read off the teleprompter, and then they have their prepared questions, and then let's go eat lunch, and it doesn't go much beyond that.
I saw a really good interview. I wish I remember the reporter's name with Luis Elizondo. It was a Washington Post. I'm not a fan of Washington Post, but whatever the reporter was, it was a female.
I saw that,
she did a
YouTube,
really good job. I was like clapping my hands, like watching the interview, because she was asking him such good questions, honest, good questions. Yeah, insightful
relevant,
questions.
questions.
Not like the stupid questions I see a lot happening right now in the media. Or the way they try to like be like, ooh, X-Files, and be goofy about it. I mean, I'm goofy on here, but I take it serious.
There you go. And everybody, what tickles me is everybody's like, well, let's go with the science and avoid the woo-woo. Look, this whole thing is the woo-woo.
The science tells you it's woo-woo.
The science tells you it's woo-woo. We got beings coming from another planet that can go from right here in front of me up into the stars in 1 second's time and not leave a sonic boom. We're talking about woo-woo.
Or being able to go in and out of the ocean and then up into space, I mean, we don't have that technology.
We don't have that technology, and that's woo-woo. And a lot of the things that they're doing seem to demonstrate a psychic or a paranormal component to it. So you can't get away from any of this stuff without discussing the woo-woo. It's all woo-woo, I mean, we're here on this planet. Einstein discussed woo-woo, for Pete's sake. All this theoretical physics and all this thing, that's woo-woo, This thing can influence that thing at a distance at the same time and all that. If that ain't woo-woo, I don't know what is. And look, it's like science has so far to go to catch up with the paranormal. You're not going to catch and to understand everything there is about the paranormal with science. And that's one thing they keep doing wrong on Skinwalker Ranch. We've got all our instruments, all our scientists, all this and all that. But what made the big difference was when the rabbi came out, opened the portal, and they caught it on film. That's what made the big difference.
People is triggered, I think.
People.
Yeah.
And I keep telling, like on Twitter, Brandon Fugel's on there, the owner of Skinwalker, and he actually watched a video of mine that I made on YouTube criticizing the first season of Skinwalker Ranch because of the abuse of the animals. You bring innocent animals into a situation is going to cause danger and cause an uprising. That's on you, and that's not right. And he actually watched that and liked it. And so periodically I will make comments to him on there about, hey, look, I understand wanting to catch it on science, but science isn't catching up to the paranormal. You got to have good shamans, good psychics, good mediums, good people in there that can go, okay, I feel or see or know who's coming through and what they want and why.
To point them in the right direction, at least.
Yeah, and there's no instrument on the planet that can measure that yet. I always tell people that they say, what's your favorite instrument you take into a paranormal investigation? I always tell them I take the most sensitive, the most technologically advanced, best, most accurate instrument on the planet that there is, myself.
Yep.
Because nothing that we've developed can beat that. It's absolutely essential. And when we start relying less on science and more on validating the paranormal with good, properly trained, authentic people that you can validate and then work science in with that, then that's when you're going to get some results, and we're still not going to understand it all, and science still doesn't understand it all. They're wanting something they can measure, quantify, replicate, duplicate, whatever, and that just doesn't exist in the realm of the paranormal. It's not going to let you do that.
I always compare the realm of the paranormal to the dead frog from Warner Brothers cartoons, where the guy would be like, hello, my baby, hello, my darling. The guy would dance for the guy. As soon as he bring the box out, and it'd be a dead frog, and he'd be like, look, I swear to God it danced. I swear to God it sang. That's the paranormal. When you try to hold it up and do it, it wants to play dead on you.
Well, look, how many times do you go out and get successful EVP at some place, you go back and there's nothing?
Nothing.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, I know.
And the conditions are just as perfect.
Yep.
And so we have to realize we get what we get when we get it. We got to walk by faith. We walk in the light we have. Hopefully we get a little more along the way. And, you know, nobody has all the answers. That's where we have to get rid of all this ego. All these people develop all these followings, and you know, they say they have the answer, they have special knowledge, or they know stuff that nobody else knows. Baloney.
Oh yeah, in the UFO community. I mean, geez, oh my God.
Oh
Lord, it's just such so venomous people in the field. It's just like, you know, do you really know? No, you don't. Shut up.
No, you don't. Yeah, that's it. You do not know, and even the big name people, they have no clue.
Yeah,
they don't know.
They act like they do.
They act like they do, but they've been doing this stuff forever, and they don't know. If they knew, we would have those answers. It would be out there, but we don't. And, you know, it's all a continuing investigation. And my thing all the way through, like I said, when I was a kid and I started searching for the truth, it's like, is it real? Does it work? Does it physically manifest? Does it help? Does it enlighten? Does it teach? Does it guide? And not in some kind of, oh, I astrally projected onto Venus and I saw my 32 past lives and I need restitution. That doesn't do beans, and it's probably a hallucination. And what I mean, does it help? Does it guide? Does it do something for us right here, right now, in our physical bodies, in our physical realm, that helps us be better and live better here and now? And if it doesn't, it's useless. It's theoretical conjecture.
When I was in my early 20s, I got really into, like I said, developing my psychic ability. I was reading all these spiritual books and Buddhist books, and you know, I would think, why can't people get, you know, more into their spirituality and more into this and like open themselves up? Why aren't people asking these questions? And then I grew up more and realized, because it's life. You got to go to work.
Exactly.
You got kids you got to take care of. It doesn't. You know, these things don't pay the bills.
That's it.
You know,
That's it.
You know, get off your high horse.
Exactly
You know?
right. And you look at, for example, like you see all these Buddhist monks or whatever in these foreign countries, and they devote their lives to spiritualism, to the spiritual life and whatever. What has it done for them? What has it done for humanity? We have more wars, more droughts, more problems, more sickness, more illness, more disease. What has it done? They've isolated themselves to feel good, basically. Oh, I meditate and I connect and I feel this high. Oh, you're not doing nothing. You're making yourself feel good, but you're not of service to humanity. Spiritual work hurts. It's difficult. I've held the hand of the dying as they've crossed over. I've dealt with people with significant, hideous problems, diseases, everything else. I've lost my faith along the way, and I write about that in my book, A Knock in the Attic. I absolutely, totally lost my faith, turned my back on everything, and walked away from it. And the other side wouldn't let me. They brought me back, thank God. But, I mean, unless you've been down in the trenches with this stuff, you don't understand. You don't get it. You know, it's a very difficult thing, the spiritual life. It's very problematic. It's very hard, and it has to be fought on a practical level. It has to be something that you can give real people in the real world something to hang their hat on and do them some good. And it's just like my readings tonight, and like for the guys say, you're exactly right. I used to be a big outdoorsman. I used to love that. And I used to do photography in the outdoors. There's the creative aspect. And I need to get back to that. That'll make me feel good. That'll enrich my life and reinforce my life again. That's the purpose of a good reading or any good psychic gift or any good manifestation, is something that helps us and guides us and benefits us in a real way.
Yeah, I mean, if it isn't going to do any good, then who cares? You know, if it doesn't have any impact on, you know, making your life better, then who cares?
That was like all the Seth books and the Seth readings. It's like, what in God's name are you talking about? You can't even muddle through the nonsense in there. And on YouTube, they periodically disappear, so I was actually able to record them and keep them, so I've got them on my computer in case anybody doubts. But they have some early videos of Jane Roberts channeling Seth, right?
Right.
Now, look, I don't mean to be respectful, but look, she's sitting there talking like a normal human being, and then when she channels Seth, did you ever hear these old Pentecostal preachers?
Yeah.
You gotta believe in
Yeah.
God, And that's how she starts talking when she channels Seth. She starts talking like this old Pentecostal preacher. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You know, and it just all of this stuff just boggles my mind. And these people make fortunes off of it, and they gain all these followers, and they do all this stupid nonsense, and it doesn't amount to a hill of beans, and it doesn't help a thing. You know?
Well, I heard Obama, they're talking about former presidents talk about UFOs, say, well, with the UFO thing, could start a whole new religion. I'm like, oh, dear God, please no.
I know. We've
Like,
got enough as it is.
Yeah, like we don't need another, you know.
We don't need another. We have a glut of religions now, and none of them work. You know?
I think a lot of our religions are based off of what aliens did come here back in our ancient past, but doesn't mean I want to follow them now. You know?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
But that is my fear.
Yeah,
that is my fear.
I know, yeah.
I mean, and then even with the paranormal, if like we were to suddenly make a device that could talk to the dead, really, really, legitimately, for
Somebody
sure.
would start a church off
Yes, you know it.
Yeah.
You know people. You know what they would do, and that wouldn't be good.
and start making money off of it. You know.
Yeah.
Well, we perfected this. Now, if you want to talk to your grandmother, $500 for 30 minutes. You know, it's like, oh man. So that's human nature, and that's what we do. And you're exactly right. I don't want any part of any organized movement or religion or anything else. Let's get the truth. Let's get it out there. Let's help as many people as we can with it. People say, well, you're charging for your readings. No, I'm charging for my time.
Your time
is
a
a difference. If you want me to do this full time, I got to go to the grocery store and pay my bills the same as you do. You know, I can't go in. Oh, I'm world-renowned psychic John Russell. Well, great. That'll be $136.42. You know, so. And everything has to be reasonable, you know. I mean, I charge what I hope to be reasonable, what people can afford. I haven't changed my rates in years and years and years, and I get really disgusted with the people that charge $850 an hour.
Oh,
I know that
John, I've had people message me more than once, going, I have this person saying that they for $4,000 they're gonna, you know, I've been cursed.
Help me get my dream
I'm like,
job.
yes,
and all
it is a
this stuff.
scam.
Yeah.
Don't give them any money.
I have had to rescue so many people from that, and it just breaks my heart. And people say, well, if you're that stupid, you deserve what you get. Well, let me tell you, the smarter that you are, sometimes the easier you are to fool.
Because you think you know it all, right?
You think you know it all. You think you know how to spot things. And these people are called con artists, confidence artists, because they know how to gain your confidence. They know what to do. They know how to read you. They know how to, you know, and what most people don't understand, a lot of these psychics, these phony psychics, use sleight of hand magic. And they will produce things that look like physical paranormal miracles. And if you don't know how it's done, it looks like a legitimate paranormal manifestation. But if you go down to the library and get any basic beginning book on magic and read it, you're going to, oh, okay, that's how it was done. So, you know, these people use all kinds of methods to fool people, to con people, to take advantage of people. And like I say, just because you're smart, you're not going to be fooled.
Like Sababa, the prophet, like in India, that would like make stuff material. Like it was, you can see all the illusions that he's using. You know, and they people followed him like he was a god. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like that guy in Oregon, the guru in Oregon. You know, driving by his followers in his Rolls Royce while they're out there grubbing in the fields and, you know, eating vegetables, and he's living like a god, and they're supporting him and all this. And it's like, do you not see?
God wanted me to have that private jet. God wanted me.
Like these evangelists. Oh my God! Don't get me started there. We could do a whole other show on that.
Oh yeah,
man.
But that's my worry is, like, you know, with Paranormal Awakening and UFO disclosure is people being duped. I mean, I'm going to bring up a name right now. I don't like to call people out in the field or anything, but one that really one of the people that really bothers me is Stephen Greer. Like, he has a whole cult following. He's even got freaking Hollywood stars now.
This guy is off the rails.
Demi Lovato is totally worships him, and I'm like, this guy's a con artist.
Like, are you kidding me? Yeah, he is. I firmly believe he is, and I don't say that in a slandered, libel way. I believe he's like, you know, the ETs can do no wrong. Earthman bad, ET good, you know,
and he's faked. He's faked evidence. I'm sorry, Stephen Greer is full of crap, and he's got a cult. And now he's come out. He's one of those ones that's gone against Luis Elizondo, I believe. And
he says he's a disinformation agent.
I'm like, screw you.
Yeah,
screw you, Stephen Greer.
You know, and all of these guys, You know, I charge what I do, and I don't make a decent living, to be honest with you. And all of these guys are making a fortune off this crap that they're out there doing. And it's like, are you kidding me? Come on.
Or like David Wilcox. I can't stand. I'm sorry, I just call it out. I can't stand David Wilcox. Kind of got like a cult following going for it, and then he started going down the QAnon route. And I'm like, why do people buy into this crap? Has he ever produced anything that really is substantial?
That really did anything?
Neither.
Anything real, anything substantial. And people do fall for that. It just amazes me. People had rather believe a fantasy than the truth, and they had rather believe some.
And I just want the truth. I just want the truth.
Yeah.
You know,
that's me. And it's like, and I tell people, I say, look, if the truth demolishes our private viewpoints and our pet peeves and whatever, great. Let us go where the truth leads. And if it demolishes our pet viewpoints in the process, so much the better. You know, and that's the point that we have to be willing and able to come to, is say, okay, this is what I believe, but if you can show me that it's not valid, more power to you, and let's go find the truth. Let's deal with it. But I agree with you. There are so many people in the field, both paranormal, UFOs, everything, psychic, that they don't know what they're talking about. They're not providing anything evidential. They have all these theories that can't be proven. They attack anybody that disagrees with them. They attack other people.
I think that's always that's the clearest sign. When they get super aggressive, the moment somebody calls them out on their BS is the moment you should know that they are full of BS.
Yeah, because it's all ego-driven, and it's, it just, it's like, and that's what I think the UFO realm is full of cults. I think the paranormal realm, the psychic realm is full of cults, cult-type personalities.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but it is.
Yeah, and people need to be aware of that. They need to be able to distinguish the real from the false.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid, And it's like people telling you that, oh, we've done this, we've done that, we've communicated, we know exactly what this is, we know exactly what's going on. No, you don't.
Nope.
Because if you did, you would share it with the world, and the world would be able to replicate that, and we would be able to validate that, and we'd go, oh, okay, yeah, here it is. Just like 2 + 2 = 4 anywhere in the world. Well, your stuff would be the same. And I noticed one thing about Greer, not to disparage him, but one thing about Greer I noticed as he went along, it became less inclusive and more hidden.
Yeah.
It became all these disclaimers. Well, we're going to charge you for this, and you're going to come and you're going to do that, but we're not going to guarantee that you're going to experience this or that you're going to do that, and we're not going to guarantee a physical experience. You may meet an alien in meditation or whatever that is. Like, come on, man. The initial thing was where you're going to come out remote view, we're going to bring a craft in, you're going to interact with this craft physically. And then that changed to, we don't know what kind of experience you're going to have. We're not going to guarantee anything physical.
Yeah, that's a legal reason for that.
Exactly.
Well, John, it's been excellent having you on the show. We made it to the end with tornado warning and all.
No tornado. So, Jason, I appreciate you having me on. It's been a blast. We'll do it again whenever you want to.
And when your next book comes out, I really do want it. And so let me know when it comes out, John. Send me an email or something, because I'd like to have you back on the show to talk about it, too.
Yeah, great.
All right, guys.
Absolutely.
That's it for the show. You can check out johnrussell.net. Hook up with John there if you want to get a private reading. Check out his books, Writing with Ghosts, Angels, and Spirits of the Dead, and Knock in the Attic. You can find those on Amazon, guys. Thank you so much, John, for being on the show. We will be back next week with a returning guest, Bruce Solheim. If you don't remember him, we had an amazing show a couple years ago with him. He's had a lot of paranormal experiences, a little bit mediumistic himself, so he's got some new stuff to talk about next Sunday, same bad time, same bad channel, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Central, 11 p.m., 2 a.m. Eastern, 8 p.m., 11 p.m. Pacific time. Thank you to everybody who shares the show out. Keep telling people about Paranormal Soup, a place where we can come talk, join together, discuss these paranormal topics. We are the disclosure movement for the paranormal and the UFOs, our stories, our experiences. This is the place to talk about it. Thank you to all my Patreons. $2 a month definitely help pay the bills. If you want to help pay for the show, go check us out, Paranormal Soup, Jason Bland on Patreon. $2 a month. It does help pay the bills for the show, and greatly appreciate all those who do. All right, guys, thanks for joining us tonight. See you next week. Have a great night, and a happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.